as the gentle mists rise over ancient limestone steps and tropical birds call softly through the emerald canopy, we begin our peaceful journey back through time to explore one of humanity's most fascinating civilizations, the Maya of Mesoamerica. Their story spans more than 3,000 years, filled with astronomical wisdom, architectural marvels, and mysteries that still captivate us today. Before we venture deeper into these sacred temples and lost cities, I invite you to join our growing community of history enthusiasts seeking peaceful moments of learning and reflection. If you find yourself drifting into pleasant dreams as we explore these ancient tales, please consider subscribing to our channel and leaving a gentle thumbs up. I'd also love to know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Perhaps you're wrapped in evening shadows like the ones that once fell across Maya temples, or greeting the same dawn that their astronomers so carefully tracked. Feel free to share in the comments below. Now, let us walk softly through the corridors of time, back to when the first Maya settlements began to emerge from the lush rainforests of what we now know as southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and parts of Honduras and El Salvador. Around 2000 BCE, as the warm tropical rains nourished the rich soil, small farming communities slowly began to establish themselves in the lowlands, cultivating maize, beans, and squash in harmony with the natural cycles of their environment. As we drift through the centuries, we witness the gradual transformation of these humble villages into magnificent city-states, each crowned with soaring pyramid temples that reached toward the stars. The classical period, from around 250 to 900 CE, would see the Maya civilization reach its zenith, creating some of the most sophisticated achievements in art, architecture, mathematics, and astronomy that the ancient world had ever known. Picture yourself standing in the central plaza of Tikal, one of the most powerful Maya cities, as the morning sun gradually illuminates its towering temples. The limestone structures, rising up to 230 feet high, would have been painted in brilliant reds, blues, and whites, their surfaces adorned with intricate relief carvings telling stories of gods and rulers. The soft sounds of prayer and ceremony would have drifted through the air, mixing with the calls of toucans and howler monkeys in the surrounding rainforest. In the scribal schools and royal courts, skilled artisans carefully painted their sacred codices, books made from tree bark paper and filled with detailed hieroglyphic writing. These precious manuscripts contained astronomical calculations, religious ceremonies, and historical records, though sadly only 4 have survived to the present day, each one a window into this remarkable civilization. As we prepare to delve deeper into the specific aspects of Maya life, their sophisticated calendar systems, their complex political relationships, their remarkable artistic achievements, and the eventual transformation of their classical civilization, let us pause to appreciate the vast scope of their legacy. From the earliest settlements in the misty highlands to the grand cities of the classical period, and through the mysterious changes that would alter their world forever, the story of the Maya reminds us of humanity's endless capacity for creation, innovation, and adaptation. In the quiet moments ahead, we'll explore the intricate details of their temple architecture, decode the messages left in their hieroglyphic texts, and contemplate the various theories about their classical period transformation. Like the steady rhythm of time itself, we'll move gradually through each aspect of their world, allowing the rich tapestry of Maya civilization to unfold before us like the pages of their precious codices. Let us drift back through time to the misty origins of the Maya civilization, as it slowly emerged from the rich tropical landscapes of Mesoamerica. Around 2000 BCE, the first Maya communities began to take root in the fertile valleys and dense rainforests that would become their homeland, stretching across what we now know as southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and parts of Honduras and El Salvador. Picture the gentle morning light filtering through the jungle canopy, as early Maya farmers cleared small patches of land using simple stone tools. They cultivated the sacred maize, beans, and squash that would become the foundation of their society. The warm, humid air carried the sounds of birds and the distant murmur of streams as these first settlements gradually grew. In these early days, around 1500 BCE, the Maya began crafting simple clay vessels, decorating them with basic patterns that would evolve into their distinctive artistic style. The soft clay took shape beneath skilled hands, each piece telling stories of daily life and emerging cultural practices. Small villages dotted the landscape, their thatched roof houses clustered together, connected by well-worn earthen paths. As time flowed steadily onward, like water in their precious cenotes, the Maya developed more complex social structures. By 1000 BCE, the first signs of social hierarchy emerged, as evidenced by differences in burial practices and household goods found by archaeologists. Some homes began to be built on low platforms, the first whispers of the magnificent pyramids that would later pierce the jungle canopy. The period from 800 to 400 BCE saw the gradual appearance of more permanent structures, as communities began building with limestone and creating public spaces for gatherings and ceremonies. In places like Nakb in Guatemala's Petén region, early Maya architects laid the groundwork for their future architectural achievements, carefully placing each stone to create lasting monuments. The soft glow of history illuminates the site of El Mirador, which rose to prominence around 300 BCE. Here, we can see the first truly massive Maya constructions taking shape, with elaborate complexes and broad causeways connecting different parts of the city. The air would have been filled with the sounds of stone against stone, as workers shaped blocks for their emerging monuments. As we approach the end of the preclassic period, around 250 CE, the Maya had developed sophisticated writing systems, intricate calendars, and complex astronomical knowledge. Their priests and scholars gathered in quiet rooms, carefully painting delicate glyphs on smooth bark paper, recording their observations of the stars and the passage of time. Throughout these early centuries, the Maya people refined their understanding of mathematics, developed trade networks that stretched across Mesoamerica, and established the foundations of their remarkable civilization. They created elaborate ceramic vessels, delicate jade ornaments, and began the practice of building steely, tall stone monuments that would later record their histories and achievements. This formative period laid the groundwork for the classical flowering of Maya civilization that was yet to come, like seeds planted in rich soil, waiting for the right moment to bloom into full magnificence. Let us journey now through the breathtaking landscapes where the Maya civilization flourished, settling into the rich environmental tapestry that cradled their remarkable culture. The Maya homeland stretched across a diverse terrain, from the humid lowlands of the Petén region in northern Guatemala to the highlands of Chiapas and the Yucatan Peninsula's limestone plains. Picture yourself walking through dense tropical rainforests, where towering ceiba trees reach toward the sky, their sprawling canopies home to countless species of birds and howler monkeys. The air here is thick and warm, carrying the sweet scent of orchids and the earthy aroma of rich soil. These lowland regions received abundant rainfall, typically more than 200 centimeters annually, creating perfect conditions for the Maya's agricultural practices. Moving northward, the landscape gradually transforms into the drier scrublands of the Yucatan Peninsula. Here, the limestone bedrock created a unique geological feature known as karst topography, where underground rivers carved extensive cave systems. These caves, or cenotes, became sacred places for the Maya, who viewed them as portals to the underworld and vital sources of fresh water in a region where surface water was scarce. In the southern highlands, the terrain rises dramatically into mountain ranges and volcanic peaks, some reaching heights of more than 3,000 meters. The cooler temperatures and mineral-rich volcanic soils of these regions provided different agricultural opportunities, allowing the Maya to cultivate crops like cacao and quetzal feathers, which became valuable trade items. The Maya adapted brilliantly to these varied environments, developing sophisticated agricultural techniques for each ecological zone. In the lowlands, they created raised fields in swampy areas and terraced hillsides to prevent erosion. They engineered complex water management systems, building reservoirs and channeling rainfall to sustain their communities through the dry seasons. The natural environment provided abundant resources: limestone for their magnificent buildings, clay for pottery, hardwoods like cedar and sapodilla for construction, and countless plants for medicine, textiles, and dyes. The forests offered deer, peccaries, and other game animals, while the rivers and coastal waters provided fish and shellfish. Seasonal patterns greatly influenced Maya life, with the calendar year divided between the rainy season from May to October and the dry season from November to April. These cycles shaped agricultural practices, religious ceremonies, and daily activities. The Maya learned to read the subtle changes in their environment, understanding when to plant crops, when to expect storms, and how to prepare for seasonal variations. Climate played a crucial role in the development and eventual challenges of Maya civilization. Evidence suggests they experienced periods of severe drought, particularly during the 8th and 9th centuries CE, which may have contributed to the decline of some major centers. Yet the Mayas' deep understanding of their environment allowed them to thrive for millennia, building one of the most sophisticated civilizations of the ancient world. This intimate connection with the natural world influenced every aspect of Maya culture, from their architectural designs that mimicked sacred mountains to their writing system that incorporated natural elements into its glyphs. The geographic setting became more than just a backdrop. It was an integral part of their cosmology, their daily lives, and their understanding of the universe. As the earliest Maya settlers began to establish their first communities, they were drawn to the rich, fertile valleys nestled between the mountains and along the coastal plains. Picture the gentle morning mist rising over small clusters of thatched roof homes, surrounded by carefully tended fields of growing maize, the cornerstone of Maya agriculture and culture. Around 1800 BCE, these early farmers began clearing small patches of forest using stone tools and controlled burning. They would have walked softly through the morning dew, selecting the most promising areas for their crops. The humid air carried the scent of earth and wood smoke as they prepared new fields for planting. These first settlements were modest, often housing extended family groups who worked together to cultivate the land. The development of Maya agriculture was a gradual process, unfolding over many generations. They learned to cultivate not only maize but also beans, squash, and chili peppers, creating what we now call the Three Sisters method of companion planting. These early farmers noticed how the beans would climb the tall maize stalks, while squash spread across the ground below, its broad leaves helping to retain moisture in the soil. In the lowland regions, particularly around what would later become important centers like El Mirador and Nakb, communities began experimenting with raised field systems as early as 1000 BCE. These clever agricultural innovations allowed them to farm in seasonally flooded areas, creating elevated planting beds separated by canals. The sound of water flowing through these channels would have been a constant companion to their daily work. The settlements slowly grew larger as agricultural techniques improved. Imagine the quiet bustle of village life: women grinding maize on stone metates, the soft pat-pat sound of tortilla making, children helping to tend the household gardens, and elders passing down their agricultural knowledge through stories and practical instruction. The air would have been filled with the gentle murmur of daily life and the aromatic smoke from cooking fires. By 800 BCE, some of these settlements had grown into more substantial communities, with simple ceremonial structures beginning to appear. The earliest versions of what would later become grand temples were modest platforms of packed earth and stone, where community leaders would gather to make decisions and perform rituals related to the agricultural cycle. The success of these early agricultural communities laid the foundation for the later development of Maya civilization. They established trade networks along footpaths through the forest, exchanging surplus crops for essential items like salt, obsidian, and jade. The steady rhythm of planting and harvesting became intertwined with their religious beliefs, as they developed a deep understanding of seasonal changes and astronomical cycles. These early settlers created the first calendar systems, carefully observing the movements of the sun and stars to determine the best times for planting and harvesting. Their agricultural expertise grew alongside their spiritual and astronomical knowledge, forming the interconnected web of Maya culture that would flourish in the centuries to come. The gentle wisdom of these early farmers continues to echo through time, reminding us of humanity's enduring connection to the land and the cycles of nature. As Maya settlements grew and flourished, a gradual transformation began to reshape their society, like gentle waves slowly carving patterns in sand. Over generations, what had begun as relatively equal communities of farmers and craftspeople evolved into an intricate social hierarchy that would define Maya civilization for centuries to come. In the warming light of dawn, village elders would gather to make decisions, their voices carrying across the morning mist. But as populations expanded between 500 BCE and 250 CE, these simple gatherings gave way to more complex forms of leadership. The subtle shift began with certain families gaining prominence through their success in farming, their skill in crafting precious items, or their perceived connection to divine forces. Listen as we explore how these early Maya communities developed distinct social classes, each like layers in the rich soil of their tropical homeland. At the apex of society emerged the royal families and noble class, their elevated status marked by jade jewelry that caught the golden sunlight, and elaborate headdresses adorned with the iridescent feathers of quetzal birds. These nobles lived in finely plastered homes near the centers of growing settlements, their daily lives marked by comfort and ceremony. Below the nobles were the skilled artisans and merchants, whose careful hands shaped clay into vessels and carved stone into monuments. They lived in smaller but still comfortable homes, their workshops filling the air with the gentle tapping of stone tools and the earthy scent of fresh clay. The majority of Maya society consisted of farmers, whose daily rhythm followed the cycles of maize cultivation, their connection to the land as deep as the roots of the ceiba trees. As settlements grew into cities, religious specialists emerged, their knowledge of calendar systems and astronomical observations earning them respected positions. These priests would climb the growing temple stairs in the cool morning air, their sandaled feet following paths worn smooth by daily devotion. Their responsibilities included maintaining the sacred calendar of 260 days, called the Tzolk'in, which guided both spiritual and agricultural life. This social structure became more pronounced during the late preclassic period, around 400 BCE to 250 CE. Archaeological evidence reveals this transformation through burial practices, where some individuals were laid to rest with elaborate jade offerings and painted ceramic vessels, while others were buried with simpler items. The soft earth held these stories of social distinction, preserved through centuries. The development of writing systems further reinforced social hierarchy, as specialized scribes recorded the achievements and lineages of noble families. Their careful hands painted glyphs on smooth bark paper and carved stories into limestone monuments, creating a legacy that would endure through time like ripples spreading across still water. This gradual establishment of social hierarchy created the foundation for the great classical Maya civilization that would follow. Like a complex tapestry being slowly woven, each thread of social distinction added to the rich pattern of Maya life, creating a society that would sustain some of the most remarkable achievements in human history. The quiet whispers of these social changes would echo through centuries, shaping the destiny of millions who would call the Maya lowlands their home. As Maya society grew more complex during the Classic period, beginning around 250 CE, magnificent cities began to rise from the rainforest floor. Picture the gentle morning mist lifting to reveal towering pyramids, their limestone surfaces gleaming in the early sunlight. These weren't just buildings, but carefully planned urban centers that would define Maya civilization for centuries to come. In the humid lowlands, skilled architects and laborers worked patiently to create cities like Tikal, whose main pyramid would eventually stretch 47 meters into the sky. The sound of stone tools tapping against limestone blocks echoed through the jungle as workers shaped each piece with remarkable precision. They used a technique called lime plaster facing, covering the buildings with a smooth, bright white surface that must have appeared to glow in the moonlight. The city of Palenque emerged nestled in the rolling hills of what is now Chiapas, Mexico. Its builders incorporated the natural landscape into their designs, creating elegant structures that seemed to flow with the terrain. The gentle sound of streams and waterfalls would have provided a constant backdrop to daily life, as the Maya engineered sophisticated water management systems to sustain their growing population. At Capan, in present-day Honduras, artisans carved intricate hieroglyphic stairways and elaborate sculptures that told stories of rulers and gods. The soft whisper of tropical breezes would have carried the dust of their careful stone working, as they transformed solid rock into flowing patterns and sacred symbols. The city's acropolis grew gradually over generations, each ruler adding new layers and structures to the ancient core. These early classic period cities were carefully planned around central plazas, where the rhythm of daily life played out beneath the watchful eyes of temple pyramids. Markets would have filled these spaces with the quiet murmur of trade and conversation, while incense smoke drifted through the air during regular ceremonies. The architecture itself served as a physical manifestation of Maya cosmology, with buildings arranged to align with celestial movements and important calendar dates. In cities like Calakmul, massive reservoirs were constructed to capture and store rainwater, their surfaces reflecting the sky above. The engineering knowledge required to build these systems developed slowly over time, passed down through generations of builders and planners. The sound of water flowing through carefully constructed channels would have been a constant presence in city life. As the years passed, these urban centers grew increasingly interconnected through trade routes and political alliances. The soft padding of bare feet along sacred causeways connected outlying settlements to city centers, while longer roads linked major cities across the landscape. By 600 CE, the classic Maya had established a network of powerful city-states, each with its own ruling dynasty and architectural traditions, yet all sharing common cultural elements that defined their civilization. The rise of these cities marked a profound transformation in Maya society, as urban life created new social roles and responsibilities. The steady rhythm of construction continued almost constantly, with each generation adding its own contributions to the ever-growing architectural legacy that would endure for centuries to come. As Maya communities grew and prospered, they began to express their spiritual and political power through the construction of their first major temples, reaching toward the heavens with stepped pyramids that would come to define their architectural legacy. In the warm, misty mornings of the late preclassic period, around 400 BCE to 250 CE, workers gathered at construction sites, carrying limestone blocks and mortar made from burned limestone and tree sap. Among the earliest and most significant temple constructions was the magnificent structure at Nacp in Guatemala's Petén region. Rising gradually through generations of building efforts, this temple pyramid reached a height of 45 meters, its stepped sides ascending gracefully toward the sky. The workers would have heard the gentle tapping of stone tools against limestone, the soft murmur of voices coordinating their efforts, and the rustling of palm fronds in the tropical breeze. At El Mirador, another early center of Maya civilization, the La Danta complex emerged as one of the most massive constructions in the ancient world. Built in stages beginning around 300 BCE, its final form comprised multiple platforms and pyramids, with the main structure rising an impressive 72 meters above the rainforest floor. The limestone surfaces would have gleamed brilliantly white in the sunlight, visible for miles through the jungle canopy. The construction process itself was a carefully orchestrated ritual, with priests determining auspicious dates for each phase of building. Workers would often incorporate earlier structures within new ones, creating layer upon layer of architectural history. The sweet scent of copal incense would have drifted through the air during ceremonial offerings, while the sound of drums and wooden flutes marked important moments in the construction process. In Tikal, the North Acropolis began its long architectural evolution during this period, starting as a modest platform and gradually developing into a complex arrangement of temples and royal tombs. Each new addition reflected advancing architectural knowledge and growing religious sophistication, with carefully aligned stairs and platforms oriented to track celestial movements. The temples served multiple purposes in Maya society. Their primary chambers housed sacred objects and served as spaces for religious ceremonies, while their imposing heights demonstrated the power of the ruling elite. The steep stairs leading to the temple summits were designed not just for physical ascent, but as symbolic pathways between the earthly realm and the divine heavens. Inside these early temples, priests would have moved through cool, shadowed corridors, their footsteps echoing softly against limestone walls. The internal spaces were often arranged to create specific acoustic effects, with some chambers designed to amplify the voices of rulers and priests during ceremonies. These first major temple constructions established architectural patterns that would influence Maya building practices for centuries to come. The precise placement of structures in relation to astronomical events, the use of stepped platforms, and the incorporation of religious symbolism in architectural details would become hallmarks of Maya architecture throughout their classical period. As the sun set each evening, the lengthening shadows would trace patterns across these magnificent structures, while the limestone surfaces cooled slowly in the evening air, releasing the day's heat just as they had done for centuries, marking the eternal rhythm of days that would continue to flow through Maya civilization's golden age. As Maya civilization flourished across Mesoamerica, their cities emerged as masterpieces of urban planning, with ceremonial centers that reflected both their sophisticated understanding of astronomy and their deep spiritual beliefs. Let us explore how these remarkable urban spaces took shape, created with careful intention and sacred purpose. The Maya architects and planners arranged their cities according to precise geometric patterns, often aligning major structures with celestial bodies and cardinal directions. Each city center was carefully organized around a great plaza, a vast open space that served as the heart of civic and religious life. These plazas were surrounded by impressive architectural complexes that included temples, palaces, and ball courts, all arranged in harmonious relationship to one another. In the city of Tikal, which reached its peak between 600 and 800 CE, the main ceremonial center was composed of several architectural groups, including the majestic Great Plaza. Here, Temple I and Temple II faced each other across the expansive plaza, their towering forms creating a sense of balance and symmetry that would have impressed visitors approaching from any direction. The smooth limestone surfaces of these structures would have gleamed in the tropical sunlight, while the cool shade of the plaza provided relief from the heat of the day. The Maya designed their ceremonial centers with processions and rituals in mind. Wide sakbiab, or raised limestone causeways, connected various parts of the cities, allowing people to move easily between different architectural complexes. These white stone paths, some stretching for kilometers, would have been especially striking during ceremonies when thousands of people gathered, their footsteps echoing softly against the stone as they moved through the sacred spaces. At Capan, in present-day Honduras, the architects created intimate plaza spaces surrounded by intricately carved structures. The famous hieroglyphic stairway, with its 63 steps covered in glyphs, tells the story of Kapan's royal dynasty. The surrounding buildings were positioned to create acoustic effects that would have enhanced the experience of ceremonies and proclamations, with sound carrying clearly across the gathered crowds. The planning of these cities also took into account practical considerations. Reservoirs and channels were integrated into the urban design to collect and distribute water, while residential areas were typically arranged in concentric zones around the ceremonial center, with elite residences closest to the sacred precinct and commoner housing radiating outward. In Palenque, the builders worked with the natural topography, creating a series of terraces and platforms that followed the contours of the hills. The palace, with its distinctive tower, overlooked courtyards and plazas that stepped down the hillside, while elaborate aqueducts and drainage systems managed the abundant rainfall of the region. The ceremonial centers were designed to create experiences that reinforced Maya cosmology and social order. As people moved through these spaces, they would have encountered a carefully choreographed sequence of views and perspectives. The massive pyramids would appear to grow larger as one approached, their steep stairs rising toward the sky where, at the summit, temples pierced the clouds like mountain peaks reaching toward the heavens. These urban spaces continue to inspire wonder today, their careful planning and precise astronomical alignments testament to the sophisticated knowledge and artistic vision of Maya civilization. The rhythmic arrangement of structures, the interplay of light and shadow, and the harmonious integration of architecture with the natural landscape created spaces that were both functional and deeply meaningful to those who lived among them. As Maya civilization flourished across the centuries, their architectural styles underwent a fascinating evolution, each region and era contributing its own distinctive elements to create an ever more sophisticated building tradition. Let us drift through time, observing how these magnificent structures transformed and adapted across the landscapes of Mesoamerica. In the earliest classic period, around 250 CE, Maya architects began with relatively simple platforms and pyramids, their surfaces adorned with thick stucco and painted in vibrant reds and creams. The gentle morning sun would cast long shadows across these early structures, their smooth facades reflecting the first rays of dawn. As techniques advanced, builders began incorporating more complex elements, like the talud table row style borrowed from Teotihuacan, featuring a sloping lower wall topped by a vertical panel. Moving through the centuries like a soft breeze through temple corridors, we see the emergence of the Petain style in sites like Tikal and Chichen. Here, temples grew taller, their steep stairways reaching skyward, while intricate roof combs extended even higher, creating dramatic silhouettes against the tropical sky. The sound of stone against stone would have echoed through the plazas as master craftsmen carefully fitted each block into place. In the Usumacinta region, architects developed their own distinctive approach. Sites like Palenque showcased more delicate proportions, with temples featuring thin walls and wide doorways that welcomed cooling breezes. The rustling of leaves in the surrounding rainforest would have mingled with the soft footsteps of priests ascending these graceful structures. As we float into the late Classic period, around 600–900 CE, the Puuc style emerged in the northern Yucatan. These buildings wore elaborate stone mosaics like delicate jewelry, their facades decorated with geometric patterns and masks of the rain god Chaac. At sites like Uxmal and Kaba, skilled artisans created intricate veneer facades, fitting thousands of precisely cut stones together like pieces of a grand puzzle. The Rio Bec style developed its own unique character, with temples featuring false stairs and twin towers that seemed to pierce the clouds. These buildings played with perception and symbolism, their forms suggesting movement and height even while remaining firmly grounded. The afternoon light would cast ever-changing patterns across their distinctive features. In the terminal Classic period, Qin-style architecture brought new innovations, incorporating massive monster-mouth doorways that seemed to swallow visitors into the sacred interior spaces. The careful placement of these structures allowed for compelling light and shadow effects during important celestial events. As we rest in contemplation of these architectural achievements, we can appreciate how each style reflected not just technical advancement, but also the evolving spiritual and political needs of Maya society. The smooth limestone surfaces, the careful astronomical alignments, and the increasingly complex decorative elements all spoke to a civilization reaching ever higher levels of sophistication. This architectural evolution would continue until the very end of the Classic period, with each region maintaining its distinctive characteristics while sharing innovations across trade networks and diplomatic connections. The gentle whisper of centuries passes through these ancient corridors, carrying the echoes of countless footsteps and the enduring legacy of Maya architectural genius. As the Maya civilization flourished, they developed one of the most sophisticated writing systems in the ancient Americas. Picture yourself walking through a quiet temple chamber, where elaborate glyphs cover the smooth limestone walls, each character carefully carved and painted in rich reds and deep blues. These hieroglyphs, numbering over 800 distinct signs, tell stories of kings and gods, mark the passage of time, and record the complex knowledge of Maya scholars. The development of Maya writing began around 300 BCE, though it reached its peak of refinement during the Classic period, between 250 and 900 CE. Imagine skilled scribes, sitting cross-legged in cool palace chambers, carefully painting codices made from bark paper. These books, treated with white lime to create smooth writing surfaces, contain detailed astronomical observations, agricultural calendars, and religious ceremonies. The Maya writing system combined both logographic and syllabic elements, allowing scribes to record not only ideas, but also the sounds of their spoken language. Each glyph could represent a complete word or a syllable, flowing together in elegant combinations that modern scholars are still working to fully understand. The soft rustling of paper and gentle scratch of writing tools would have filled the quiet spaces where scribes worked, their movements deliberate and precise. In addition to the codices, Maya scribes recorded their knowledge on pottery, stone monuments, and temple walls. They used natural pigments, deep blacks from charcoal, vibrant reds from hematite, and brilliant blues from indigo to create texts that have endured for centuries. The writing system was intimately connected with mathematics and astronomy, allowing Maya priests to track celestial movements and create calendars of remarkable accuracy. Among the most important types of records were the historical texts, which documented royal lineages, military victories, and important ritual events. These narratives were often accompanied by dates written in the Maya long count calendar, a sophisticated system that could precisely mark events over vast spans of time. Imagine the quiet concentration of priests consulting these records by torch light, their fingers tracing the carved glyphs as they recalled the deeds of their ancestors. The Maya also developed a complex numerical system, including the concept of zero, which they represented as a shell shape. Their mathematical knowledge enabled them to make precise astronomical calculations and create architectural works aligned with celestial events. The peaceful hours before dawn would find astronomers in their observatories, recording the movements of Venus and other celestial bodies in their codices. Sadly, many Maya codices were destroyed during the Spanish conquest, with only 4 surviving to the present day. These remaining books, the Dresden, Paris, Madrid, and Grolier codices, offer precious glimpses into the depth of Maya knowledge. Each page contains careful observations of natural cycles, religious ceremonies, and astronomical predictions, painted in delicate lines and subtle colors. The Maya writing system remained in use until the Spanish conquest, though knowledge of how to read and write was largely restricted to noble scribes and priests. Their careful records, preserved in stone and surviving codices, continue to reveal new insights into this remarkable civilization, like whispers from an ancient past that grow clearer with each passing year. As we drift deeper into understanding Maya culture, let us explore the remarkable development of their hieroglyphic writing system, which emerged gradually over many centuries. Like gentle rain nourishing fertile soil, the Maya script evolved from simple symbols into one of the most sophisticated writing systems ever created in the ancient Americas. The earliest Maya glyphs appeared around 300 BCE, beginning as basic pictographs carved into stone and painted on pottery. These early symbols were like whispers from the past, slowly growing more complex and refined with each passing generation. By the Classic period, between 250 and 900 CE, the Maya had developed a complete writing system comprising over 800 distinct glyphs, each one carefully crafted to represent sounds, words, or complete concepts. Picture the peaceful scene of a Maya scribe, sitting in the cool shade of a temple courtyard, carefully painting delicate glyphs onto a piece of bark paper. The soft rustling of leaves mingles with the quiet scratching of their writing tools as they record the stories of kings, the movements of celestial bodies, and the sacred calendar counts that guided Maya life. The Maya used different materials to capture their written words. Most enduring were the stone monuments, where artisans would carefully chisel elaborate texts into limestone surfaces. They also created codices, books made from bark paper and coated with lime plaster, though sadly, only 4 of these precious manuscripts survived the Spanish conquest. The Dresden Codex, the Paris Codex, the Madrid Codex, and the Grolier Codex each tell us stories of astronomical observations, religious ceremonies, and daily life. In the quiet halls of Maya scribal schools, young nobles would learn the intricate art of writing. They would practice drawing basic elements first, circles, dots, and lines, before advancing to more complex compositions. The soft sounds of their teachers' patient instructions would echo through the chambers as they learned to combine phonetic symbols with logograms, creating the flowing narrative sequences we can still see today. The Maya writing system was uniquely adaptable, allowing scribes to spell the same words in different ways, much like poetry can express the same sentiment through varying arrangements of words. This flexibility gave rise to beautiful calligraphic variations, where scribes could demonstrate their artistic skill while maintaining the precision of their message. As time flowed onward, like water moving through the ancient Maya causeways, the writing system became increasingly sophisticated. By the late Classic period, around 750 CE, Maya scribes were recording complex historical narratives, astronomical calculations, and genealogical histories. They documented royal marriages, military victories, and ritual ceremonies with precise dates and detailed descriptions. The development of Maya writing was intimately connected to their understanding of time and astronomy. Each glyph that marked a date was carefully chosen to align with their elaborate calendar systems, creating a written record that wove together earthly events with celestial movements. In the peaceful stillness of night, scribes would observe the stars and planets, recording their observations in precisely arranged glyphs that would be studied by generations to come. This sophisticated writing system served as the foundation for Maya intellectual achievements, allowing them to preserve and transmit knowledge across time and space, like stars sending their light through the darkness of night. As the Maya writing system flourished, their scribes created remarkable books known as codices, accordion-folded manuscripts made from the inner bark of fig trees, carefully processed and coated with a thin layer of lime plaster to create smooth writing surfaces. In the gentle quietness of temple chambers and royal courts, skilled artisans would carefully apply their brushstrokes, creating page after page of intricate hieroglyphs and detailed illustrations. These precious codices served multiple purposes in Maya society, each one carefully crafted to preserve and transmit different types of knowledge. Astronomical codices tracked the movements of celestial bodies, helping priests predict eclipses and determine auspicious dates for ceremonies and agricultural activities. The soft rustling of these pages could be heard as priests consulted them by candlelight, studying the complex calculations that helped them maintain their sacred calendar. Religious codices contain detailed accounts of Maya mythology, describing the creation stories and the adventures of their deities. These books were treated with great reverence, often stored in special chambers within temples where the air was kept dry to preserve their delicate pages. The scent of copal incense would often fill these spaces as priests performed rituals while consulting these sacred texts. Other codices served more practical purposes, recording historical events, genealogies of royal families, and important political alliances. Scribes would carefully document tribute payments, trade agreements, and the achievements of rulers, creating a detailed record of Maya civilization that extended across generations. The steady scratching of their writing implements and the subtle mixing of natural pigments would have been familiar sounds in the scribal schools, where young nobles learned this prestigious art. Sadly, only 4 pre-Columbian Maya codices have survived to the present day: the Dresden, Madrid, Paris, and Grolier codices, each named for the city where they are now preserved. The Dresden Codex, perhaps the most complete and well-preserved, contains detailed astronomical tables and religious prophecies. Its 74 pages reveal the sophisticated mathematical and astronomical knowledge of Maya priests, who used these calculations to predict planetary cycles with remarkable accuracy. The creation of each codex was a lengthy and meticulous process. Scribes would carefully prepare their materials, mixing pigments from minerals, plants, and even the tiny cochineal insect to create vibrant colors that would last for centuries. The steady rhythm of their work would continue day after day as they filled page after page with precise hieroglyphs and elaborate illustrations. These books were living documents, consulted regularly and updated as needed. In the cool shade of palace courtyards or temple chambers, scholars would gather to study and discuss their contents, their quiet voices mixing with the gentle breeze as they debated interpretations and shared knowledge. The codices served as both practical reference works and objects of profound cultural significance, embodying the intellectual achievements of Maya civilization. Through these carefully crafted books, we can still glimpse the rich complexity of Maya thought and the sophisticated systems they developed for understanding their world. Each surviving codex offers a window into their deep knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, religion, and history, preserved through the careful work of countless anonymous scribes who dedicated their lives to creating and maintaining these precious repositories of knowledge. As the Maya civilization flourished, they developed remarkably sophisticated systems of mathematics and astronomy, interweaving these disciplines into the very fabric of their society. In the quiet contemplation of starlit nights, Maya astronomers would gaze upward from their observatories, carefully tracking the movements of celestial bodies across the vast canvas of the sky. The Maya number system, elegant in its simplicity yet profound in its capabilities, was based on a vigesimal or base 20 system. They were among the first civilizations to develop and use the concept of zero, represented by a shell-like symbol. Picture the careful hands of Maya scribes, etching these numbers into stone and bark paper, using just 3 symbols: a dot for 1, a bar for 5, and their shell-like 0. In their astronomical observations, the Maya achieved remarkable precision. From their careful studies, they created complex calendars that could predict solar and lunar eclipses, track the movements of Venus, and calculate the length of the solar year to an accuracy that rivals modern measurements. The gentle rhythm of these celestial cycles became deeply embedded in their understanding of time and space. Within their observatories, such as the famous Caracal at Chichen Itza, Maya astronomers would patiently observe the sky through carefully positioned windows. These architectural features were precisely aligned to track specific celestial events, like the equinoxes and solstices. The soft whisper of wind through these ancient structures still carries echoes of their astronomical wisdom. The Maya understanding of mathematics went far beyond simple arithmetic. They developed sophisticated systems for calculating vast periods of time, stretching thousands of years into both the past and future. Their long count calendar, with its intricate cycles within cycles, demonstrated their mastery of large numbers and complex mathematical concepts. In the quiet hours before dawn, priests and astronomers would consult their careful calculations, recorded in codices and carved in stone. They tracked the movements of planets, particularly Venus, whose cycles they believed held great significance for human affairs. The precise alignments of their buildings with celestial events speaks to their deep understanding of geometry and architectural mathematics. The Maya ability to predict astronomical events with remarkable accuracy influenced many aspects of their society. Their mathematical and astronomical knowledge guided everything from agricultural planning to religious ceremonies, weaving science and spirituality into a seamless whole. The soft glow of morning light would signal the beginning of carefully timed rituals, all based on their precise calculations. These achievements in mathematics and astronomy continue to astound scholars today. The Maya ability to work with complex numbers and astronomical cycles, without the aid of modern tools or technology, speaks to their intellectual sophistication. Their observations and calculations, preserved in stone and surviving codices, reveal a civilization that understood the profound connection between earthly life and celestial movements. As the stars wheel slowly overhead, much as they did when Maya astronomers first mapped their movements, we can appreciate the depth and breadth of their mathematical and astronomical legacy. Their careful observations and calculations, passed down through generations, formed the foundation for many aspects of their remarkable civilization. Let us drift deeper into the spiritual heart of Maya civilization, where sacred temples rose like mountains from the jungle floor, their limestone surfaces gleaming in the tropical sun. The religious practices of the Maya were as intricate as the carved reliefs that adorned their temple walls, weaving together the realms of earth and sky in an endless cosmic dance. Within these soaring pyramidal temples, known as Kaya or god houses, Maya priests performed elaborate ceremonies that maintained the delicate balance between the natural and supernatural worlds. The gentle smoke of copal incense would rise through the temple chambers, carrying prayers to the gods above, while the soft sound of ceremonial drums echoed through the courtyards below. The temples served multiple functions in Maya society, each one carefully aligned with celestial bodies and cardinal directions. At Kapan, the temple known as Structure 22 was positioned to capture the rays of the rising sun during important agricultural dates, its shadows marking the changing of seasons. The priests would ascend the steep temple stairs in the cool morning air, their jade ornaments catching the first light of dawn as they prepared to conduct their sacred duties. Religious rituals followed the complex Maya calendar system, with ceremonies scheduled according to both the 260-day sacred calendar, the Tzolk'in, and the 365-day solar calendar, the Hob. During these ceremonies, rulers would don elaborate headdresses and ceremonial garments, transforming themselves into living embodiments of the gods. The sweet scent of cacao, considered the food of the gods, would mingle with the earthy aroma of burning herbs as offerings were presented. In the great city of Tikal, the temple of the great jaguar stood as a testament to the Maya belief in the connection between earthly rulers and divine power. Its 9 levels represented the 9 levels of the underworld, while its roof comb reached toward the 13 levels of heaven. Within its shadowed chambers, priests would conduct bloodletting rituals, believing that the sacrifice of royal blood nourished the gods and ensured the continuation of cosmic order. The temples also served as final resting places for noble dead, their burial chambers carefully prepared with precious offerings of jade, ceramics, and textiles. At Palenque, the Temple of the Inscriptions housed the tomb of King Pakal, its walls covered in detailed hieroglyphic texts describing his divine lineage and achievements. The smooth limestone walls still hold the whispered echoes of ancient prayers and chants. Common people would gather in the great plazas before the temples, participating in public ceremonies that marked important calendar dates and royal occasions. They would bring offerings of maize, fruits, and flowers, laying them before the temple steps as the soft notes of wooden flutes and ceramic ocarinas filled the air with sacred music. As we rest here in the gentle embrace of history, we can imagine the daily rhythm of temple life, the early morning preparations, the midday ceremonies, and the evening prayers that marked the sun's journey across the sky. These temples, still standing after centuries in the embrace of the rainforest, continue to whisper their ancient secrets to those who pause to listen. Let us drift deeper into the rich tapestry of Maya cosmology, where the universe was understood as a multi-layered realm of profound meaning and divine purpose. The Maya conceived of the cosmos as having 13 levels of heaven above and 9 levels of the underworld below, with the earthly realm situated between these spiritual domains. In their gentle contemplation of existence, the Maya believed that a great ceiba tree, known as the world tree or axis mundi, connected these three realms. Its roots reached deep into the dark, mysterious underworld of Xibalba, while its trunk passed through the middle world of human existence, and its branches stretched upward into the celestial realm where the gods dwelled in ethereal splendor. The Maya understanding of time and space was intrinsically woven into this cosmic vision. They saw time not as a linear progression, but as a cyclical flow, like the peaceful rhythm of breathing. Each day was governed by specific deities, and the movement of celestial bodies through the sky told stories of divine journeys and cosmic battles. Among the most significant deities was Itzamna, the supreme creator god associated with writing, knowledge, and healing. Imagine the soft whispers of prayers offered to him in the quiet corners of temples, as scribes carefully recorded sacred knowledge in their codices. The rain god Chak was equally revered, his presence felt in every life-giving shower that nourished the maize fields. The Maya believed that the world had been created and destroyed multiple times before the present era. According to the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the K'ich Maya, the gods had made several attempts to create beings who would worship them properly. First they created animals, then beings of mud, then wooden people, and finally, humans made from maize, the sacred substance that sustained life throughout Mesoamerica. In the serene darkness of temple chambers, priests would contemplate the delicate balance between order and chaos, light and shadow. They understood that their rituals and ceremonies helped maintain cosmic harmony. The burning of copal incense would rise like dreams toward the heavens, carrying messages to the gods who watched over the world with ancient eyes. Time itself was sacred to the Maya, measured in interlocking cycles of varying lengths. The Tzolk'in, or sacred calendar of 260 days, merged with the solar year of 365 days to create larger cycles of time. These cycles influenced every aspect of Maya life, from the planting of crops to the coronation of kings, all flowing together in a cosmic dance of profound significance. The Maya saw themselves as active participants in maintaining universal order. Through bloodletting rituals, elaborate ceremonies, and careful observation of celestial movements, they believed they helped sustain the cosmic balance. This deep connection between the earthly and divine realms provided meaning and purpose to their daily lives, guiding their actions and shaping their understanding of existence itself. As we rest in this contemplation of Maya cosmology, we can almost feel the weight of these ancient beliefs, like soft shadows falling across stone temples, reminding us of humanity's eternal quest to understand its place in the vast tapestry of existence. As we gently explore the role of Maya temples in society, imagine standing before these magnificent stepped pyramids rising above the rainforest canopy, their limestone surfaces gleaming in the warm tropical sunlight. These sacred structures were far more than mere places of worship. They were the very heart of Maya communities, serving as the center of political, social, and spiritual life. The temples, known as Kaya-na in classical Maya, meaning God's house, created a physical connection between the earthly realm and the celestial world above. Each major Maya city featured multiple temples, with the tallest often reaching heights of over 130 feet, like the famous Temple IV at Tikal. These architectural marvels required immense resources and labor to construct, demonstrating the tremendous power and organization of Maya society. Picture the daily life surrounding these sacred buildings, where priests in elaborate jade and feather regalia would ascend the steep steps each morning to perform rituals. The sweet scent of copal incense would drift through the air, while the gentle sound of shell trumpets called the community to gather in the plaza below. Common people would bring offerings of maize, precious textiles, and ceramic vessels filled with chocolate drinks to present to the gods. The temples served as more than spiritual centers. They were also seats of political power. Royal courts were often situated near the main temple complexes, where kings would perform elaborate ceremonies to demonstrate their divine right to rule. These rulers were believed to be intermediaries between the mortal world and the supernatural realm, and the temples provided the stage for their most important public appearances. Within the temple precincts, scribes would carefully record important events, astronomical observations, and sacred knowledge onto bark paper codices. The temples housed libraries of these precious books, as well as schools where noble children learned writing, mathematics, and religious doctrine. The soft murmur of students reciting calendar counts and sacred texts would echo through the temple corridors. During important festivals, the temple plazas would come alive with activity. Imagine the countless footsteps on worn stone steps, the colorful banners fluttering in the breeze, and the rhythmic sounds of wooden drums and ceramic flutes filling the air. Markets would spring up around the temple grounds, where traders exchanged goods from distant lands, jade from the highlands, obsidian from central Mexico, and brilliant quetzal feathers from the cloud forests. The temples also served as repositories of scientific knowledge. Their careful alignment with celestial bodies allowed priests to track the movements of planets and stars, predict eclipses, and determine optimal planting times for crops. The very architecture of these buildings encoded mathematical and astronomical principles, with some temples designed to create special light and shadow effects during solstices and equinoxes. As generations passed, temples were periodically renovated and expanded, with new structures built atop older ones like the layers of an onion. Each construction phase marked important historical moments or royal successions, creating a physical timeline of the city's history. These sacred mountains of stone stood as enduring monuments to Maya civilization, their presence a constant reminder of the connection between earth and sky, past and present, mortal and divine. In the sacred spaces of Maya society, the priestly class held an exalted position, serving as intermediaries between the earthly realm and the divine. These spiritual leaders, known as Akayin, meaning those of the sun, devoted their lives to maintaining harmony between the human world and the supernatural forces that governed it. Their presence was felt throughout every level of Maya life, from the grandest ceremonies to the quietest moments of personal devotion. The priests lived in special quarters near the temples, their daily routines beginning before dawn with careful preparations for the day's rituals. They wore elaborate jade jewelry and headdresses adorned with quetzal feathers, their faces often painted in deep blues and rich blacks to symbolize their connection to the celestial realm. The soft whisper of their cotton robes could be heard as they ascended the temple stairs in the early morning light, carrying censers filled with burning copal incense that released sweet, fragrant smoke into the air. Religious ceremonies followed the careful calculations of the sacred calendar, with priests maintaining detailed records of astronomical observations and divine prophecies. They performed bloodletting rituals, offering their own blood to nourish the gods, using elaborate obsidian blades and stingray spines specially reserved for these sacred purposes. The gentle drops of blood were caught on bark paper, which was then burned as an offering, sending prayers skyward with the rising smoke. During important ceremonies, such as the ending of a Catalan cycle every 20 years, the priests would lead elaborate processions through the city centers. These events would begin with the soft sound of conch shell trumpets echoing through the plazas, followed by the steady rhythm of wooden drums. Participants would move in careful, measured steps, their jade ornaments catching the sunlight as they carried precious offerings of cacao, maize, and richly woven textiles. The priestly class also served as keepers of knowledge, carefully preserving and transcribing sacred texts in the codices. In quiet temple rooms, they would spend hours painting delicate glyphs on bark paper, recording historical events, astronomical observations, and religious prophecies. The gentle scratching of their writing tools and the subtle fragrance of ink filled these sacred spaces as they worked to maintain their people's connection with divine wisdom. These religious leaders were also responsible for performing crucial calendar rituals, marking the passing of time and ensuring the continuation of cosmic cycles. They would conduct ceremonies at specific moments determined by the careful intersection of multiple calendar systems, burning incense and chanting prayers in the ancient Maya language that echoed softly through the temple chambers. The influence of the priestly class extended beyond purely religious matters, as they often served as advisors to Maya rulers, helping to guide political decisions through divine consultation. Their knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and writing made them indispensable to the proper functioning of Maya society, their wisdom passed down through carefully maintained lineages of religious training and sacred knowledge. As evening approached each day, the priests would conclude their duties with quiet prayers and offerings, the smoke from their incense burners drifting upward toward the darkening sky, maintaining the delicate balance between the human world and the realm of the gods, just as their ancestors had done for countless generations before them. As we gently drift into the height of classic Maya civilization, between 600 and 800 CE, we find ourselves in an era of unprecedented cultural flowering and architectural achievement. The warm tropical air carries the sounds of countless workers and artisans, their tools rhythmically shaping limestone blocks and carefully applying vibrant pigments to elaborate murals. In this golden age, great cities like Tikal reached their zenith, with soaring temple pyramids piercing the emerald canopy of the rainforest. The city's population swelled to perhaps 100,000 inhabitants, while its skyline grew to include 6 major temple complexes, their stepped sides rising like mountain peaks above the plaza below. The smooth limestone surfaces of these temples were painted in brilliant reds, blues, and yellows, creating a dazzling sight that could be seen from miles away through gaps in the jungle canopy. At Palenque, the wise King Kayinish Janab Pakal I had set in motion a building program that his successors continued with graceful dedication. The palace grew more elaborate with each passing decade, its distinctive tower reaching skyward while intricate stucco reliefs adorned its walls, telling stories of divine kings and cosmic order. The gentle sound of flowing water through architectural channels created a soothing atmosphere in the courtyards. Calakmul and Karakal emerged as powerful rivals to Tikal, each boasting their own massive architectural achievements. The careful placement of structures aligned with celestial movements, while sophisticated water management systems caught and stored precious rainfall in reservoirs, sustaining these dense urban populations through the dry seasons. This was also the time when Maya writing reached its most refined form. Scribes, working in cool temple chambers, carefully painted elaborate hieroglyphic texts on pottery vessels and carved detailed histories into stone monuments. The sweet scent of copal incense drifted through these spaces as they worked, recording the achievements of their rulers and the movements of the heavens with unprecedented precision. Trade networks reached their greatest extent during this period, with goods flowing from the highlands to the lowlands and back again. Jade from the Motagua Valley, obsidian from El Chale, and precious quetzal feathers from the cloud forests all made their way through this complex web of exchange. The soft padding of bare feet along sacred white roads, or sakbiab, connected major centers, while merchants in dugout canoes plied coastal and riverine trade routes. In the households of nobles and commoners alike, daily life followed ancient rhythms. The morning air filled with the padding sounds of women preparing corn tortillas, while in the distance, the deep resonance of drums and the haunting notes of clay flutes accompanied regular ceremonies in the temple precincts. Artists created masterpieces of ceramic art, painting delicate scenes of court life and mythological stories on vessels that would serve both practical and ritual purposes. Yet even at this peak of achievement, subtle signs of the challenges to come were present, like distant thunder before a storm. The increasing competition between city-states led to more frequent warfare, while the demands of supporting such large populations began to strain local resources. But for now, in this moment of cultural fluorescence, the Maya civilization shone with an intensity that would leave an indelible mark on human history. Let us explore the intricate network of Maya city-states that dotted the lush rainforests and fertile valleys of Mesoamerica. During the Classic period, the Maya political landscape was not a unified empire, but rather a complex web of independent city-states, each with its own ruling dynasty and sphere of influence. Picture the grand city of Tikal, rising above the canopy of the Petane rainforest, its limestone pyramids gleaming in the morning sun. This powerful city-state dominated much of the central lowlands, with its influence reaching far beyond its immediate territory. The rulers of Tikal bore the title Kayuhul Ajo, or Holy Lord, and their lineage was carefully recorded in elaborate stone monuments and painted ceramics. To the north lay Calakmul, Tikal's greatest rival, nestled within what we now call the Campeche region of Mexico. These two mighty cities engaged in a centuries-long contest for supremacy, forming alliances with smaller cities and engaging in careful diplomatic relationships. The gentle rustling of forest leaves carried whispers of political intrigue, as ambassadors traveled between cities along carefully maintained sakbiab, or raised limestone roads. The political structure within each city-state followed a hierarchical pattern, flowing like a gentle stream from the divine ruler at the apex, through various noble families and administrative officials. The Kayuhul Aja was believed to serve as an intermediary between the earthly realm and the gods, their authority reinforced through elaborate ceremonies and ritual performances in the great plazas. In the western highlands, the city of Palenque flourished under the rule of Inish Janab Pakal, whose 68-year reign brought unprecedented prosperity and artistic achievement. The cool mountain air carried the sounds of stone carvers working to record his deeds in elegant relief sculptures, while scribes carefully documented royal histories in bark paper codices. To the east, the city of Capan in modern-day Honduras developed its own distinctive style of sculptural art and architecture. Under the leadership of rulers like 18 Rabbit, artisans created some of the most intricate and beautiful monuments in the Maya world, their fingers working carefully to shape the local volcanic tough stone. The political relationships between cities were maintained through various means: marriage alliances, trade agreements, and sometimes military confrontations. Yet even warfare followed certain ceremonial patterns, with ritual battles often preceding larger conflicts. The soft padding of bare feet on forest paths marked the movement of merchants between cities, carrying not just goods, but also news and diplomatic messages. Each city-state maintained its own court, where nobles gathered to conduct business, participate in ceremonies, and witness important political events. The gentle murmur of diplomatic conversations echoed through colonnaded halls, while scribes recorded important decisions on ceramic vessels and in codices. These courts were centers of learning and artistic production, where mathematics, astronomy, and calendar systems were studied and refined. As we drift through this complex political landscape, we can sense how the Maya created a sophisticated system of governance that balanced independence with interconnection, power with ceremony, and earthly authority with divine mandate. This delicate political ecosystem would continue to evolve and adapt, though changes were already stirring that would eventually lead to significant transformations in Maya society. Let us drift gently into the intricate web of Maya trade networks, where goods and ideas flowed like rivers through the ancient landscape. The Maya civilization developed sophisticated economic systems that connected distant cities and peoples across Mesoamerica, creating a tapestry of commerce that sustained their great society. Along well-worn paths through dense jungle and across sparkling waters, Maya merchants, known as Palam, carried precious cargo in backpacks called cacaxli. These traders moved valuable goods like jade from the Motagua Valley, obsidian from the highlands of Guatemala, salt from the Yucatan coast, and the highly prized quetzal feathers from the misty mountains of Chiapas. The gentle sound of their footsteps and quiet conversations filled the trading routes that connected great cities like Tikal, Calakmul, and Capan. The Maya used various forms of currency, though not in the way we might imagine today. Cacao beans served as a standard medium of exchange, carefully counted and traded in amounts of 8,000 beans called a ziquipal. These precious seeds were stored in cotton pouches, their subtle aroma a reminder of their worth. Other valued trade items included cotton textiles, dyed in rich colors from indigenous plants, and delicate shells from the Caribbean coast that whispered tales of distant shores. In the bustling marketplaces of Maya cities, local vendors would display their wares on woven mats spread across stone-paved plazas. The air would be filled with the soft murmur of negotiations, the rustle of textile displays, and the gentle clinking of jade pieces. These markets were carefully regulated by market officials who ensured fair trading practices and maintained order with quiet authority. Long-distance trade was particularly important for the elite class, who desired exotic goods to display their status and power. Items like fine ceramics, elaborate textiles, and precious stones moved along established trade routes that extended from the highlands of central Mexico to the tropical lowlands of Honduras. These networks were not just about physical goods. They also facilitated the exchange of ideas, artistic styles, and technological innovations that enriched Maya culture. The Maya developed sophisticated water transportation systems, using large dugout canoes to navigate rivers and coastal waters. These vessels, some capable of holding up to 25 people and their cargo, moved silently through the water, carrying goods between major ports like the busy harbor at Cerros in modern-day Belize. The steady rhythm of paddles dipping into water marked the passage of these ancient merchants as they transported their valuable cargo. Archaeological evidence reveals the extent of these trade networks through the distribution of distinctive items like Guatemalan jade, Mexican obsidian, and Caribbean shells found far from their sources. In the quiet depths of ancient Maya tombs, these traded goods rest as silent testimonies to the complex economic relationships that once flourished. As we imagine these ancient trade routes, we can almost hear the soft footfalls of merchants traveling through the pre-dawn mist, the gentle lapping of water against trading canoes, and the quiet exchanges of goods that helped build and sustain one of the most remarkable civilizations of the ancient world. Let us drift peacefully into the remarkable artistic and cultural achievements of the Maya civilization, where creativity and innovation flourished like the vibrant flowers of the rainforest. The Maya people expressed their understanding of the world through countless forms of artistic expression, each piece telling its own story of their rich cultural heritage. In the quiet halls of their magnificent temples, skilled artisans carefully carved intricate reliefs into limestone walls, their gentle tapping echoing through the corridors. These masterful works depicted elaborate scenes of royal ceremonies, mythological stories, and important historical events. The artists used sophisticated techniques to create depth and movement, their careful hands bringing stone to life with flowing lines and delicate details. The Maya were masterful painters, adorning the walls of their buildings with brilliant murals in rich reds, blues, and yellows. In places like Bonampak, in what is now Chiapas, Mexico, entire rooms were transformed into vivid scenes of court life, spiritual ceremonies, and military victories. The natural pigments they used were carefully prepared from minerals, plants, and even the distinctive Maya blue, a remarkable color created through an innovative process combining indigo with palygorskite clay. Their pottery tells equally compelling stories, with vessels shaped and painted by patient hands in the quiet of workshop courtyards. Master potters created everything from simple cooking vessels to elaborate polychrome vases decorated with complex scenes and hieroglyphic texts. The distinctive style known as Codex-style pottery, with its cream-colored background and fine black line work, showcased their sophisticated artistic sensibilities. In the peaceful hours of early morning and late afternoon, scribes would carefully craft their codices, accordion-folded books made from bark paper and covered with a thin layer of lime plaster. These precious manuscripts contained astronomical calculations, religious ceremonies, and historical records, all written in elegant hieroglyphic script. Though only 4 Maya codices survived the Spanish conquest, we can still appreciate their beauty and complexity. The Maya expression of mathematics and astronomy reached artistic heights as well. Their careful observations of celestial bodies were recorded in beautiful tables and charts, while their understanding of numbers and time was expressed through elegantly carved monuments and architectural alignments that still stand today. Music filled their cities too, though we can only imagine its gentle melodies now. Archaeological evidence shows they created beautiful instruments, ceramic flutes, drums made from hollow logs, and rattles filled with clay pellets. The soft sounds of these instruments would have drifted through temple courtyards during ceremonies and celebrations. Their textile arts, though largely lost to time due to the tropical climate, were equally sophisticated. Fragments of fabric and depictions in other artwork show complex weaving patterns and vibrant designs. Noble women wore elaborate huipiles decorated with intricate embroidery, while jade beads and feather work added shimmer and movement to ceremonial costumes. These artistic and cultural achievements were not merely decorative. They were integral to Maya society, encoding their knowledge, beliefs, and history in forms both beautiful and meaningful. Each carved glyph, painted figure, and woven pattern helped preserve and transmit their cultural heritage across generations, creating a legacy that continues to inspire wonder and appreciation to this day. Let us drift peacefully into the remarkable world of Maya scientific and mathematical innovations, where ancient minds contemplated the mysteries of time, space, and numbers. The Maya developed one of the most sophisticated mathematical systems of the ancient world, creating concepts that would not be matched for centuries to come. Picture yourself in a quiet temple chamber, where Maya priests and scholars worked diligently with their mathematical system based on only 3 symbols: a dot representing 1, a bar representing 5, and a special symbol for 0. This concept of 0 was revolutionary, developed independently from other civilizations, and appeared as early as 36 BCE in Maya inscriptions. The gentle scratching of their writing tools against bark paper would fill these sacred spaces as they performed complex calculations. The Maya number system was vigesimal, meaning it was based on 20 rather than 10, possibly derived from counting fingers and toes. This system allowed them to work with incredibly large numbers, reaching into the millions, which they used to track vast stretches of time in their calendar calculations. In the peaceful pre-dawn hours, astronomers would gather in observatories, their eyes turned toward the heavens, carefully recording the movements of celestial bodies. Their astronomical observations were remarkably precise. Maya astronomers could predict solar eclipses, track the movements of Venus with amazing accuracy, and calculate the lunar cycle to within mere seconds of modern measurements. The gentle rhythm of their calculations flowed through time, marking the passage of days, months, and years with extraordinary precision. In architecture, Maya engineers applied their mathematical knowledge to create buildings that aligned perfectly with celestial events. The Temple of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza, for instance, was designed so that during the spring and autumn equinoxes, the setting sun creates the illusion of a serpent slowly descending the temple's steps, a peaceful marriage of mathematics, architecture, and astronomical observation. The Maya understanding of time was particularly sophisticated. They developed multiple calendar systems working in harmony: the Tzolk'in of 260 days, the Hab of 365 days, and the long count calendar capable of tracking time over millions of years. These interweaving cycles created a complex but elegant system for marking time's endless flow. In medicine, Maya healers combined careful observation with systematic knowledge of local plants and minerals. They developed treatments for various ailments, performed sophisticated surgical procedures, and understood the importance of cleanliness in healing. The soft whisper of healing chants would blend with the gentle rustling of medicinal herbs being prepared in quiet courtyards. Their engineering achievements were equally impressive. Maya architects and mathematicians developed techniques to build massive structures that have endured for centuries, creating precise angles and perfectly level platforms without the use of metal tools or the wheel. The soft echo of stone against stone would resonate through construction sites as workers carefully placed each block according to exacting mathematical specifications. This legacy of Maya scientific and mathematical innovation continues to inspire wonder and admiration. Their achievements in astronomy, mathematics, and engineering demonstrate the heights of human intellectual capability, flowing like a gentle stream through time to influence and inspire future generations in their own pursuit of knowledge and understanding. Let us drift deeper into one of the Maya civilization's most remarkable achievements: their sophisticated calendar systems, which reflected their deep understanding of time's cyclical nature and celestial movements. As you rest and listen, imagine the Maya priests and astronomers gazing at the night sky, carefully tracking the movements of heavenly bodies. The Maya developed multiple, interwoven calendar systems that operated simultaneously, like the gentle turning of cosmic gears. The most fundamental was the Tzolk'in, or sacred calendar, consisting of 260 days, a rhythm that seemed to pulse with the human experience, closely matching the period of human gestation. This calendar combined 20 named days with 13 numbers, creating a mesmerizing dance of time that guided religious ceremonies and personal divination. Alongside the Tzolk'in flowed the Hab, a 365-day solar calendar divided into 18 months of 20 days each, plus a brief period of 5 days called Wayeb. These 5 days were considered a delicate time when the boundary between the natural and supernatural worlds grew thin. During Wayeb, people would observe special precautions, speaking softly and moving with extra care through their daily activities. Perhaps most intriguing was the long count calendar, which tracked larger cycles of time, like ripples expanding outward on a still pond. This system began from a mythological starting date of August 11, 3114 BCE, and could measure time spans of millions of years. The Maya believed that we lived in the fourth great cycle of creation, with previous worlds having been destroyed and renewed. The calendar systems were recorded in their codices using intricate hieroglyphs, often painted in rich reds and deep blacks on bark paper treated with white lime. Skilled scribes would carefully mark the passing of days, noting astronomical events and their spiritual significance. These records helped predict eclipses, track the movements of Venus, and determine the optimal times for planting, harvesting, and conducting sacred ceremonies. In the quiet courtyards of temples like those at Kapan and Palenque, specially trained priests would consult these calendars to guide the rhythm of Maya life. They would observe the movement of sunlight across carefully aligned structures, watching as the shadows marked the changing of seasons and the approach of important dates. The calendar systems were more than mere tools for marking time. They were a reflection of the Maya understanding of existence itself. They saw time as both linear and cyclical, flowing like a river while also turning like a wheel. This sophisticated view of temporality influenced everything from agricultural practices to religious ceremonies, from market days to royal coronations. Even as we rest here in the present, we can appreciate how these calendar systems continue to intrigue scholars and remind us of the Maya's remarkable ability to observe, record, and predict celestial patterns. Their careful tracking of time's passage stands as a testament to their mathematical and astronomical expertise, weaving together the practical needs of agriculture with the profound mysteries of the cosmos. The Mayas' deep fascination with the celestial realm led them to develop sophisticated astronomical observations that shaped their entire civilization. As the gentle evening breeze swept across their observatories, Maya astronomers would gather to study the intricate dance of stars, planets, and celestial bodies above their magnificent cities. In places like Chichen Itza, Copan, and Uxmal, dedicated astronomical viewing platforms were carefully positioned to align with specific celestial events. The Maya constructed specialized buildings called E-groups, which consisted of a pyramid or platform on the western side and a long northern building with 3 small temples on the eastern side. These structures were precisely oriented to track the sun's position throughout the year, marking important dates like the equinoxes and solstices. The Mayas' observations of Venus were particularly detailed and significant. They carefully tracked its 584-day cycle with remarkable precision, recording its movements in their codices. The Dresden Codex, one of the few surviving Maya manuscripts, contains extensive tables predicting Venus's appearances and disappearances over centuries. These observations were not merely scientific pursuits, but were deeply integrated into their religious and political life. Among the most impressive astronomical achievements was the ability to predict lunar eclipses. Maya astronomers developed complex mathematical calculations to anticipate these celestial events, understanding the lunar cycle with such accuracy that their predictions would be considered impressive even by modern standards. They recorded these observations using their distinctive hieroglyphic writing system, preserving their knowledge for future generations. The Maya also tracked the movements of Mars, Mercury, and Jupiter, incorporating these observations into their elaborate calendar systems. At sites like Palenque, architects designed temples with windows and doorways that would frame specific celestial bodies at particular times of the year. The soft morning light would illuminate sacred chambers exactly as intended, creating powerful connections between the earthly and celestial realms. In the quieter hours of night, Maya astronomers would make careful notations of star patterns, developing an intricate understanding of constellations that guided both their practical and spiritual lives. They recognized what we now call the Pleiades star cluster, which they associated with the rattlesnake's tail, and used it as an agricultural marker for planting seasons. Their observatories, like the famous Caracal at Chichen Itza, were engineering marvels designed with multiple windows and viewing ports to track celestial movements. The rounded shape of this unusual building, different from typical Maya architecture, was specifically chosen to allow for comprehensive astronomical observations from various angles. These astronomical achievements influenced every aspect of Maya life, from determining optimal planting times to scheduling religious ceremonies and military campaigns. The knowledge was passed down through generations of skilled astronomers who combined mathematical precision with spiritual significance. As the stars wheeled overhead each night, the Maya continued to refine their understanding of the cosmos, leaving us a legacy of astronomical knowledge that continues to impress scholars today. Their careful observations and recordings have helped modern researchers understand both Maya civilization and the historical movements of celestial bodies over centuries of careful documentation. In the tranquil depths of time, The Maya developed one of humanity's most sophisticated mathematical systems, gently weaving together practical needs with profound abstract concepts. As the morning mist settled over their sacred temples, Maya mathematicians and priests worked with a revolutionary numerical system that included something remarkable: the concept of zero. Picture yourself in a quiet scribal school, where the soft scratching of tools on bark paper fills the air. Here, young Maya scholars learn to work with their base 20 numerical system, inspired by counting fingers and toes. The simple yet elegant system used only three symbols: a dot representing 1, a bar representing 5, and a special symbol for 0, often drawn as a shell or a cupped hand. The Maya discovery of 0, independently developed around 350 CE, was a mathematical breakthrough that would not be matched in Europe for nearly a millennium. This concept allowed them to create a sophisticated positional number system, where the position of a numeral affected its value, much like our modern decimal system. In the peaceful courtyards of Maya cities, merchants and astronomers alike used this system to perform complex calculations. Let your mind drift to the marketplace, where traders quietly calculated debts and payments using cacao beans and their mathematical knowledge. The base 20 system proved particularly useful here, as numbers could be written vertically, with each position representing increasing powers of 20. A gentle breeze might carry the soft murmur of voices as they worked out transactions using this elegant system. In the serene chambers of temples, priests used these mathematical concepts to track the movements of celestial bodies. They could calculate vast numbers spanning thousands of years, recording cycles of Venus and lunar eclipses with remarkable precision. The contemplative silence of their work was punctuated only by the careful marking of numbers on codices. The Maya understanding of mathematics extended beyond mere calculation. They developed the concept of infinity, represented by the delicate unfurling of a flower in their art. Their mathematical knowledge allowed them to create precisely aligned buildings, their angles and proportions following mathematical principles that still inspire wonder today. In the cool shade of temple corridors, scribes recorded vast numbers related to their long count calendar, some spanning millions of days. The concept of 0 was crucial here, allowing them to mark the completion of one cycle and the beginning of another. Like the gentle rhythm of time itself, their calculations flowed through the positions of their number system. This mathematical legacy endured even as Maya cities began their gradual transition toward what we now call the classic Maya collapse. The principles they discovered continued to influence their descendants, and their understanding of 0 and positional notation remains one of their most significant contributions to human knowledge. As the sun sets over ancient Maya territories, we can still feel the echo of their mathematical wisdom in the precisely aligned shadows of their buildings, in the careful calculations that guided their calendar, and in the elegant simplicity of their number system. Their mathematical concepts, including 0, stand as a testament to the profound understanding they developed of the patterns and rhythms that govern our world. As we drift deeper into understanding Maya civilization, let us explore the gentle rhythms of their daily life and the intricate layers of their social structure. Like the morning mist rising over ancient courtyards, we'll let the details of their everyday existence unfold before us. Maya society was carefully organized into distinct social classes, each playing its own vital role in the community. At the apex of this social pyramid stood the divine rulers, or Kuhul-Ajo, who were believed to be intermediaries between the mortal world and the realm of the gods. These kings and queens lived in elaborate palace complexes, their days filled with religious ceremonies, political meetings, and the weighty responsibilities of governance. Just below the royal family were the noble class, including priests, scribes, and high-ranking officials. These learned individuals spent their days recording astronomical observations, maintaining the sacred calendar, and conducting important religious rituals. The soft whisper of reed pens against bark paper filled their chambers as they carefully documented the affairs of state and the movements of the heavens. The merchant class operated in the bustling marketplaces, where the air was rich with the aroma of cacao beans, colorful textiles, and exotic feathers from the quetzal bird. These traders formed a crucial middle layer of society, facilitating the exchange of goods between different Maya cities and distant lands. The gentle murmur of trade negotiations and the careful counting of currency beans would have been familiar sounds in these vibrant spaces. Most Maya people belonged to the commoner class, living in thatched-roof houses surrounded by small gardens. Their days began before dawn, as they rose to the sounds of early morning birds and the cool air of daybreak. Women ground maize on stone metates, the rhythmic scraping of stone against stone marking the preparation of the daily tortillas. Men worked in the milpa fields, carefully tending to the sacred triad of corn, beans, and squash that sustained their communities. Artisans and craftspeople occupied a special place in society, creating the beautiful pottery, jade ornaments, and stone sculptures that we still admire today. The steady tap of stone tools and the careful application of pigments would have filled their workshops from sunrise to sunset. At the bottom of the social hierarchy were slaves, often prisoners of war or those who had fallen into debt. Their lives were spent in service to the upper classes, though some could eventually earn their freedom through various means. Daily life followed the natural rhythms of the seasons, with agricultural cycles determining many activities. During the rainy season, families would gather inside their homes, weaving textiles and telling stories of the gods and ancestors. In drier months, communities would come together for festivals and markets, sharing news and maintaining social bonds. Children learned their future roles through careful observation and participation, with noble children receiving formal education in writing and religious knowledge, while commoner children learned practical skills from their parents. The soft sound of teaching voices would have drifted through the air as knowledge was passed from one generation to the next. As the sun set each day, families would gather in their homes, sharing meals and stories by the warm glow of hearth fires, their daily activities drawing to a close beneath the watchful eyes of the stars above. Let us drift deeper into understanding the intricate social structure that defined Maya civilization, where each person's place in society was as carefully arranged as the stones of their grand temples. Like many complex societies, the Maya developed a hierarchical system that shaped every aspect of daily life. At the pinnacle of Maya society stood the divine rulers, the Kayuhal Ajo, or holy lords, who were believed to be intermediaries between the mortal world and the realm of the gods. These kings traced their lineage through carefully maintained bloodlines, wearing jade ornaments and elaborate headdresses that sparkled in the tropical sunlight. Their very breath was considered sacred, and their words carried the weight of divine authority. Below the royal family existed a noble class of high-ranking officials, priests, and military commanders. These individuals lived in finely crafted stone houses near the central plaza of Maya cities, their elevated status reflected in their access to luxury goods like decorated pottery and colorful textiles. The priests, particularly, held significant influence, as they alone possessed the knowledge to read and write the complex hieroglyphic script, interpret the sacred calendar, and perform vital religious ceremonies. The middle ranks of Maya society consisted of skilled artisans, merchants, and craftspeople. These talented individuals created the intricate jade carvings, painted ceramics, and detailed murals that adorned Maya cities. Merchants traveled established trade routes, exchanging valuable goods like cacao beans, quetzal feathers, and precious stones between different Maya centers. At the foundation of the social pyramid were the commoners, who made up the majority of the population. These farmers, laborers, and servants lived in simple thatched homes on the outskirts of urban centers. They worked the fertile fields, growing maize, beans, and squash, and provided the essential labor that sustained Maya civilization. Despite their humble status, archaeological evidence suggests they maintained comfortable lives, with access to basic goods and participation in community festivals. A small class of slaves existed at the very bottom of society, typically prisoners of war or those who had fallen into debt. However, unlike some ancient civilizations, Maya slavery was not typically hereditary, and children of slaves were born free. This social structure was maintained through various means, including distinctive clothing styles that immediately identified one's status. Noble women wore long, flowing cotton dresses adorned with intricate embroidery, while commoner women wore simpler garments. The elite displayed their status through modified features such as artificially flattened foreheads and filed teeth inlaid with jade. The system remained remarkably stable for centuries, though archaeological evidence suggests some social mobility was possible through military achievement, successful trading, or marriage alliances. The careful balance of power and responsibility between different social classes helped maintain the complex urban centers and agricultural systems that characterized Maya civilization at its height. As we rest here in contemplation of this layered society, we can imagine the daily rhythm of life in a Maya city, where each person's role, from the highest king to the humblest farmer, contributed to the magnificent whole of their civilization. Let us drift deeper into understanding the contrast between urban and rural life in Maya civilization, where mighty cities rose from the rainforest while scattered farming communities sustained the broader population. In the lowland regions, great urban centers like Tikal and Palang stood as beacons of civilization, their white limestone buildings gleaming above the emerald canopy of the jungle. Within these urban centers, life moved to the rhythm of religious ceremonies and marketplace exchanges. The streets would fill with the gentle murmur of traders' voices, the soft padding of sandaled feet on limestone pavements, and the distant echoes of temple drums. City dwellers lived in increasingly sophisticated homes of stone and plaster, arranged in dense neighborhoods around central plazas and ceremonial precincts. Meanwhile, in the countryside, life followed the ancient cycles of planting and harvest. Rural Maya communities typically consisted of scattered households, each surrounded by their agricultural fields where corn, beans, and squash grew in abundance. The morning air would carry the scent of cooking fires and the sound of stone grinding against stone as women prepared the daily corn for tortillas, while farmers walked along familiar paths to their milpas, carrying their wooden tools and gourds of water. The relationship between urban and rural areas was deeply interconnected. Rural farmers would journey to urban markets, bringing their surplus crops, honey, and crafted goods to trade. The soft rustle of cotton textiles and the gleam of jade jewelry would catch the eye as rural and urban dwellers mingled in the marketplace. Urban centers provided specialized crafts, exotic trade goods, and served as centers of religious and political authority. In larger urban centers, populations could reach upwards of 50,000 people during the Classic period, between 250 and 900 CE. These cities featured complex water management systems, with reservoirs and channels carefully engineered to capture and distribute rainfall. The sound of water flowing through these ancient aqueducts would have provided a constant backdrop to urban life. Rural settlements, by contrast, typically consisted of extended family groups of 20 to 30 people, living in thatched roof houses clustered around small plazas. These communities maintained their own smaller shrines and ritual spaces, though they would travel to urban centers for major ceremonies and celebrations. As cities grew, they required ever more resources from their rural hinterlands. The gentle hills surrounding urban centers were carefully terraced for agriculture, while rural communities managed complex systems of raised fields in seasonal wetlands. The relationship between urban and rural areas remained delicately balanced, with each supporting the other through networks of trade, tribute, and ritual obligation. This pattern of urban and rural life continued for centuries, though it would eventually face increasing strain. The demands of urban centers on their rural surroundings grew ever greater, contributing to environmental pressures that would later play a role in the civilization's transformation. Yet for generations, this dual system of magnificent cities rising above the rainforest canopy, surrounded by countless rural communities tending their ancestral lands, defined the essence of Maya civilization. Picture the bustling trade routes that wound through the dense Mesoamerican jungles, where Maya merchants traveled with precious cargo balanced carefully on their backs. The gentle sound of jade beads clicking together mixed with the soft padding of feet along well-worn paths, as traders moved between the great cities of the Maya world. Trade was the lifeblood of Maya civilization, flowing like gentle rivers between communities both near and far. The most treasured commodity was jade, its cool green surface gleaming in the filtered sunlight of the rainforest. This precious stone, sourced primarily from the Motagua Valley in present-day Guatemala, made its way through an intricate network of trade relationships that connected distant cities and kingdoms. Listen as we drift through the peaceful marketplace of Tikal, where the air was filled with the sweet scent of cacao beans, another vital trade good that served both as currency and as a luxury beverage enjoyed by the elite. Merchants carefully counted these precious beans, which were transported in woven bags, and traded for everything from colorful quetzal feathers to finely crafted obsidian blades. The Maya developed sophisticated salt works along the coast, particularly in the region of modern-day Belize. Here, workers would evaporate seawater in shallow pans, creating valuable salt cakes that were transported inland. The soft whisper of ocean breezes carried the scent of salt through these coastal workshops, where the rhythmic work continued day after day. Long-distance trade routes extended far beyond Maya territories, reaching into central Mexico and even the distant regions of what is now Costa Rica. Imagine the slow, steady progress of trading canoes moving along the coast, laden with cotton textiles, honey, and dried fish. These waterborne merchants followed the coastline's gentle curves, their vessels guided by the same stars that the Maya studied so carefully. In the highlands, traders known as Pipalam moved between communities with backpacks called cacaxtli, carrying delicate obsidian blades, smooth pottery, and brilliant feathers. The sound of their walking sticks tapping against stone paths echoed through mountain valleys as they made their careful way between cities. The Maya marketplace, or tianguis, was a place of gentle commerce where the murmur of negotiations mixed with the soft rustle of textile displays. Here, artisans arranged their carefully crafted goods, delicate ceramic vessels, woven textiles dyed in rich colors, and tools crafted from both local and imported materials. As the Classic period reached its height around 750 CE, trade networks grew increasingly complex. Cities like Calakmul and Tikal competed not just militarily but economically, each seeking to control vital trade routes. Yet this competition remained largely peaceful, conducted through the patient establishment of trading relationships and diplomatic ties. The exchange of goods brought with it an exchange of ideas, as traders carried not just material goods, but also stories, technological innovations, and artistic styles between communities. This constant flow of commerce created a rich tapestry of shared cultural elements that united the diverse regions of the Maya world, while still allowing each area to maintain its unique character and traditions. As trade routes connected Maya cities across the landscape, so too did complex webs of political alliances and conflicts shape their civilization. Let us drift back to consider how warfare and diplomacy wove through Maya society like intricate threads in a tapestry, each strand connecting different city-states in patterns of peace and conflict. The Maya political landscape was a mosaic of independent city-states, each ruled by its own divine king, or Kayuhul Ajo. These cities would form shifting alliances, much like the changing patterns of light filtering through the rainforest canopy. Some of the most powerful alliances centered around major cities like Tikal, Calakmul, and Karakal, their influence spreading outward like ripples on still water. Warfare was a constant presence in Maya life, though it followed careful protocols and ritualized patterns. Unlike the total warfare of later times, Maya conflicts often focused on capturing noble prisoners and establishing political dominance rather than territorial conquest. The soft whispers of diplomatic envoys would travel between cities, carrying messages of peace or warning, their jade jewelry catching the light as they moved through torchlit corridors. In the Classic period, around 600 CE, we find compelling evidence of these political relationships carved into stone monuments. The careful strokes of Maya artists recorded alliances through marriage, showing noble women traveling great distances to wed foreign kings, their elaborate ceremonies binding cities together in peaceful union. The gentle rustling of their ceremonial garments, adorned with jade and feathers, would have echoed through the great plazas during these diplomatic unions. Yet beneath these peaceful exchanges lay the ever-present possibility of conflict. Maya warfare had its own rhythm, often timed to the agricultural calendar, with campaigns launched during the dry season when troops could move more easily through the landscape. Warriors would adorn themselves with brilliant red ochre, their cotton armor padded against obsidian-tipped spears, while commanders carried decorated shields and wore elaborate headdresses that caught the morning light. Archaeological evidence reveals the careful planning of Maya cities for defense, with walls and moats surrounding some settlements like protective embraces. At Bikan, we can still trace the outline of a massive moat system, its gentle curves following the contours of the land, while watchtowers would have stood silent sentinel over approaching valleys. The political relationships between Maya cities were recorded in their elaborate writing system, with scribes carefully painting codices and carving stelae to commemorate alliances, victories, and royal lineages. These records tell us of great rulers like Shield Jaguar of Yaxchilan and his diplomatic achievements, or the complex relationships between Tikal and Calakmul that shaped centuries of Maya history. As we rest here in contemplation of these ancient political dynamics, we can imagine the quiet discussions in royal courts, the measured steps of diplomats crossing forest paths between cities, and the slow accumulation of alliances and rivalries that would eventually contribute to the greater changes facing Maya civilization. The echoes of these political relationships would continue to resonate through the centuries, their influence flowing like gentle streams into the broader river of Maya history. As the Maya civilization flourished across its vast network of city-states, periods of peace were often interrupted by complex intercity conflicts that shaped the destiny of this remarkable culture. Let us gently explore how these conflicts unfolded across the verdant rainforests and limestone plateaus of the Maya world. Among the most notable rivalries was the centuries-long tension between the powerful cities of Tikal and Calakmul, whose conflict echoed through the corridors of time like distant thunder across the jungle canopy. Beginning around 537 CE, these two mighty centers engaged in what historians now call the Star Wars, named for the star glyphs used in Maya texts to record important battles and political events. Picture the warm morning mist rising over Tikal's pyramids as messengers arrived bearing news of Calakmul's latest diplomatic maneuvers. The rulers of Calakmul had been quietly building alliances with smaller cities, weaving a complex web of relationships that would eventually encircle their rival. Like a game of chess played across generations, each city carefully positioned their allies, established marriage connections, and secured trade routes. In the peaceful valleys between conflicts, life continued its gentle rhythm. Farmers tended their fields, artisans crafted delicate pottery, and scribes carefully recorded the events of the day in their codices. Yet beneath this tranquil surface, tensions simmered like the humid air before a tropical rain. The conflict between Dus Pilas and Tikal offers another illuminating example of intercity rivalry. Founded as a military outpost of Tikal, Dos Pilas eventually aligned itself with Calakmul, leading to a series of battles that would reshape the political landscape of the Petane region. The stones of these ancient cities still whisper tales of shifting allegiances and strategic calculations. Lesser-known conflicts between smaller cities, though not as well documented, were equally significant to those who lived through them. Cities like Palenque, Kapan, and Karakal each experienced periods of tension with their neighbors, often centered around control of valuable resources or trade routes. The gentle flow of goods along these routes, jade, cacao, colorful feathers, and precious shells, could be disrupted by political tensions, affecting the lives of merchants and craftspeople throughout the region. Archaeological evidence reveals how these conflicts influenced city planning and architecture. Defensive walls began to appear around some settlements, while watchtowers were constructed at strategic points. Yet even in times of tension, the Maya maintained their sophisticated cultural practices, continuing to build elaborate temples and create beautiful works of art. The inscriptions left behind on monuments and stelae tell us of alliances formed and broken, of victories celebrated and defeats mourned. Each city's royal court maintained detailed records of their diplomatic relations, carefully noting the subtle dance of power and influence that characterized Maya political life. These records, carved in stone and painted on pottery, have survived the centuries to help us understand the complex web of relationships that bound the Maya world together. As we rest here in contemplation of these ancient conflicts, we can appreciate how they contributed to the rich tapestry of Maya civilization, shaping its development and ultimately influencing its transformation in the centuries to come. As the Maya civilization developed increasingly complex political structures, their military organization evolved to become highly sophisticated and hierarchical. Picture the carefully ordered ranks of Maya warriors, each adorned with distinctive insignia that marked their status and experience. The gentle morning light would catch the jade and feather decorations that distinguished the elite fighters from the common soldiers. The military leadership began with the supreme commander, often the Ajo or king himself, who would coordinate large-scale military operations from the comfort of elaborate command centers within their palatial complexes. Below him served the Nakam, professional military commanders who devoted their lives to the art of warfare and strategy. These experienced leaders would spend peaceful hours in meditation and preparation, studying past battles and planning future campaigns. The backbone of Maya armies consisted of professional warriors known as Halkan, who maintained their skills through regular training and ritual ceremonies. These dedicated soldiers lived in special quarters within the city, where the rhythmic sounds of weapon practice would blend with the distant calls of tropical birds at dawn. They were supported by local militia units drawn from the general population, farmers and craftsmen who would set aside their daily tools to answer the call to arms when needed. Military organization was closely tied to social status and religious belief. Warriors would advance through clearly defined ranks, each promotion marked by ceremonial presentations of distinctive weapons and armor. The soft rustling of cotton armor padding and the subtle clicking of obsidian-edged weapons became familiar sounds in military encampments. Elite warriors wore elaborate jaguar pelts and eagle feathers, their appearance designed to inspire both awe and fear. The Maya developed specialized units within their armies. Some groups focused on projectile warfare, practicing endlessly with atlatls, spear throwers, and slings. Others specialized in close combat, wielding hardwood clubs edged with sharp obsidian blades. Scout units would move silently through the dense jungle, gathering intelligence and mapping safe passage for larger forces. Training facilities were established within major cities, where young warriors would learn both practical combat skills and the deeper spiritual aspects of warfare. The sound of wooden practice weapons striking training posts would echo through these areas from early morning until dusk. Warriors learned to move in formation, responding to command signals given by drums and wooden trumpets. Supply lines were carefully organized, with dedicated teams responsible for providing food, water, and weapons to armies in the field. The gentle murmur of porters moving along established routes through the jungle became a constant backdrop to military campaigns. These support networks were crucial for maintaining extended sieges and long-distance expeditions. Military organization also included defensive planning, with cities maintaining regular patrol schedules and guard rotations. The quiet footsteps of sentries making their rounds along city walls would mark the passing of time through the night. Each major city developed its own system of warnings and signals, using smoke by day and fire by night to communicate between defensive positions. This complex military structure would prove essential during the periods of intense warfare that marked the later classical period, as cities competed for resources and influence. The organizational systems developed during this time would leave lasting impressions on Maya society, influencing everything from urban planning to social hierarchy. As the Maya civilization developed across its vast territories, intricate systems of alliances emerged like delicate threads weaving cities and kingdoms together. These diplomatic networks, carefully cultivated over generations, helped maintain balance and stability throughout the classical period, from around 250 to 900 CE. Let us explore how these alliances shaped the Maya world, as complex and interconnected as the roots of the ceiba trees that grew in their sacred courtyards. Among the most significant alliance networks was the one centered around the powerful city of Tikal. Like gentle morning mist settling over the rainforest, Tikal's influence spread outward, forming connections with cities such as Kapan to the southeast and Palenque to the west. These relationships were often strengthened through royal marriages, with noble women traveling along white limestone roads to their new homes, carrying with them the promise of peaceful cooperation between kingdoms. The elaborate system of alliances wasn't static, but rather flowed and changed like the seasonal rains that blessed their lands. Cities might align themselves with different powers as circumstances shifted, creating a dynamic landscape of political relationships. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of these changing allegiances in the careful placement of carved monuments and in the subtle variations of architectural styles that spread from one allied city to another. One of the most well-documented alliance systems involved the rivalry between Tikal and Calakmul, two superpower cities that each developed their own networks of loyal partners. Like the spreading branches of two great trees competing for sunlight, these networks extended across the Maya lowlands. Smaller cities often found themselves choosing between these two powerful spheres of influence, weighing carefully which alliance would better serve their interests. The sharing of resources formed an important foundation for these alliances. Cities blessed with abundant flint would trade with those rich in obsidian, while those with access to jade would exchange with partners who controlled important cacao-growing regions. These economic ties were strengthened through regular festivals and ceremonies, where rulers would gather to perform rituals, exchange precious gifts, and renew their sacred bonds of friendship. Royal courts maintained sophisticated diplomatic protocols, with specially trained ambassadors carrying messages between allied cities. These envoys would travel through the jungle paths, accompanied by porters bearing elaborate gifts and trading goods. They would be welcomed into the great plaza of their destination city with carefully choreographed ceremonies, their arrival announced by the gentle sounds of shell trumpets and wooden drums. The alliance systems also served as networks for sharing knowledge and cultural practices. Artists and scribes would travel between allied cities, spreading new styles of pottery decoration, new mathematical concepts, and innovations in architectural design. This cultural exchange helped create the remarkable unity we see in Maya artistic expression, even as each city maintained its own unique character and traditions. As we drift deeper into understanding these ancient diplomatic networks, we can imagine the quiet conversations in torchlit palace chambers, where rulers and their advisors carefully weighed the benefits and obligations of their alliances, always seeking to maintain the delicate balance that kept their civilization flourishing through the centuries. Let us drift gently into the realm of the Maya codices, those precious books that held the accumulated wisdom and knowledge of their civilization. Like delicate butterflies preserved in amber, only 4 of these remarkable manuscripts survived the zealous destruction that accompanied the Spanish conquest, each one a window into the intricate world of Maya thought and culture. Picture the careful movements of a Maya scribe, seated in the cool shade of a temple chamber, carefully preparing the smooth bark paper called amatl. This special paper was crafted from the inner bark of wild fig trees, beaten and smoothed until it became flexible enough to fold like an accordion. The scribe would coat it with a thin layer of white lime plaster, creating the perfect surface for their detailed hieroglyphic writing and vivid illustrations. The surviving codices, known as the Dresden, Madrid, Paris, and Grolier codices, each tell their own unique story. The Dresden Codex, perhaps the most complete and elaborate of the 4, contains detailed astronomical tables tracking the movements of Venus, complex mathematical calculations, and almanacs for religious ceremonies. Its 74 pages speak to us across centuries, revealing the Mayas' sophisticated understanding of the cosmos and their precise astronomical observations. Imagine the soft rustle of these accordion-folded pages as Maya priests consulted them, their fingers tracing along rows of carefully painted glyphs. The Madrid Codex, with its 112 pages, focuses on everyday matters, horoscopes, agricultural almanacs, and hunting rituals. The Paris Codex, though fragmentary, preserves important information about Maya ceremonies and their zodiac-like system of day signs. The scribes used a rich palette of colors, vibrant reds from hematite, blues from indigo, and yellows from clay minerals. They worked with fine brushes made from animal hair, their steady hands creating intricate details with natural pigments mixed with tree resins. Each page was a masterwork of both art and scholarship, containing layer upon layer of meaning. These books were living documents, consulted regularly by priests and rulers to determine auspicious days for planting, warfare, marriages, and religious ceremonies. They contained prophecies, historical records, and detailed instructions for rituals that marked the rhythm of Maya life. The codices were so precious that they were often wrapped in jaguar skin and stored in special temple chambers, protected from humidity and insects. Though thousands of such books once existed, the Spanish conquistadors and missionaries, viewing them as works of the devil, systematically destroyed nearly all of them. Bishop Diego de Landa, in particular, ordered a massive burning of Maya codices in 1562 in the city of Mani. Yet the few that survived tell us of a civilization that valued knowledge, precision, and beauty, where scribes were highly respected members of society, who preserved and transmitted their culture's accumulated wisdom. The surviving codices continue to reveal new insights as scholars develop better techniques for reading and understanding them. Like whispers from the past, they speak of a people who carefully observed the world around them, who sought to understand the rhythms of time and nature, and who recorded their discoveries with remarkable artistic skill and scientific precision. Let us explore the rich content and profound purposes of Maya writings and structures as we continue our peaceful journey through their remarkable civilization. The Maya codices, those precious few that survived, reveal a complex tapestry of knowledge and beliefs that guided their society through the centuries. Within the carefully painted pages of these manuscripts, Maya scribes recorded detailed astronomical observations, creating elaborate calendar systems that tracked the movements of celestial bodies with remarkable precision. The Dresden Codex, perhaps the most complete surviving manuscript, contains detailed Venus tables that predicted the planet's appearances and disappearances with extraordinary accuracy, demonstrating the Mayas' deep understanding of astronomical cycles. These sacred books served multiple purposes, weaving together practical knowledge with spiritual guidance. The Madrid Codex contains detailed almanacs for daily life, offering guidance on agricultural timing, religious ceremonies, and even the most auspicious days for various activities. Farmers would consult these texts through their priests, seeking wisdom about when to plant their precious maize crops or perform rituals to ensure abundant harvests. The Paris Codex, though more fragmentary, reveals intricate details about Maya ritual practices and prophecies. Its pages whisper of ceremonies performed during Kayatan endings, those important 20-year periods that structured Maya time. These manuscripts weren't merely records. They were living documents that helped maintain the delicate balance between the natural and supernatural worlds. The temples, too, held their own profound content and purpose. Rising gracefully from forest floors, these architectural marvels served as more than mere places of worship. Each temple was carefully positioned and oriented to align with significant celestial events. The Temple of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza, for example, was designed so that during the spring and autumn equinoxes, the setting sun creates the appearance of a serpent slowly descending the northern staircase. Within temple chambers, priests would perform elaborate ceremonies, burning sacred copal incense that would fill the air with sweet, earthy aromas. The smoke would rise through carefully designed ventilation shafts, carrying prayers to the gods above. These spaces were not just ceremonial, they were sophisticated tools for maintaining social order and connecting with divine forces. The content of Maya writings and architecture also served to legitimize royal authority. Temple walls and stelae were carved with detailed histories of rulers, their victories, and their divine connections. These weren't simply boastful declarations. They were carefully crafted narratives that reinforced the social and political structure of Maya society. In the quiet halls of temples and the delicate pages of codices, we find evidence of a civilization that understood the power of knowledge and its preservation. Whether recording the movements of planets, preserving religious rituals, or documenting royal lineages, the Maya created an intricate system of content that served multiple, interconnected purposes: practical, spiritual, and political, all working together to maintain the harmony of their world. The creation methods of Maya codices were intricate processes that required great skill and careful preparation of materials. Let us explore, with peaceful contemplation, how these remarkable books came into being. The gentle hands of Maya scribes worked with materials sourced from the surrounding natural world, creating pages from the inner bark of wild fig trees, which they carefully processed and treated. In the quiet workshops of ancient Maya cities, artisans would carefully strip the bark and soak it in clear streams or still pools, allowing the fibers to soften naturally. They would then pound the bark with smooth stone tools, creating a surface as delicate as paper, yet durable enough to withstand the passage of time. This processed bark material, known as amatl or hoon, was then cut into long strips and folded like an accordion to form the distinctive screenfold format of Maya books. The preparation of pigments was equally meticulous. In the cool shade of temple workshops, craftspeople ground minerals and mixed organic materials to create vibrant colors. The deep red came from hematite, carefully extracted from the earth. Rich blacks were made from carbon soot, collected from burning pine resin. The brilliant Maya blue, perhaps the most remarkable of their pigments, was created through a complex process of heating indigo with palygorskite clay, producing a color that has endured for centuries. Scribes would begin their work in the early morning hours, when the air was still cool and clear. Using delicate brushes made from animal hair, they would first sketch their designs in black, creating the basic outlines of glyphs and figures. Layer by layer, they would add colors, allowing each to dry before proceeding. The steady hand of an experienced scribe could produce glyphs so precise and regular that they seemed to dance across the page. The creation of codices was not merely a technical process, but a sacred act. Before beginning their work, scribes would often perform ritual offerings and prayers to the patron deities of writing and knowledge. The gentle smoke of copal incense would drift through the workshop, creating an atmosphere of reverence and concentration. The tools of their trade were themselves considered precious objects. Fine brushes were stored in ceramic containers, protected from dust and damage. Pigments were kept in small clay pots, covered carefully to preserve their consistency. The completed pages were treated with a natural sap coating that helped protect the images from moisture and wear. In larger urban centers like Köppen and Tikal, specialized workshops existed where multiple scribes might work together, sharing knowledge and techniques passed down through generations. These workshops became centers of artistic and intellectual activity, where the careful creation of codices went hand in hand with the preservation and transmission of Maya knowledge and traditions. The process of creating a single codex could take many months, with scribes working steadily but unhurriedly to ensure the highest quality. Each finished book represented not just a collection of information, but a masterwork of artistic and technical skill, a testament to the patience and dedication of Maya craftspeople who understood that the most enduring works are those created with careful attention to detail and deep respect for tradition. The survival and destruction of Maya codices presents one of the most poignant chapters in Mesoamerican history, as we drift back through time to consider how these precious manuscripts met their fate. Of the thousands of books that once existed, documenting centuries of Maya knowledge and tradition, only 4 complete codices survived the Spanish conquest and subsequent centuries, a loss that continues to echo through time like gentle ripples on still water. The story of their destruction begins most notably with Bishop Diego de Landa, who in July of 1562 ordered a devastating auto da fe in the Maya city of Mani. Picture the warm Yucatan evening, as hundreds of irreplaceable manuscripts were gathered in the town square, their painted pages containing generations of astronomical observations, religious ceremonies, and historical records. The flames rose slowly at first, then with increasing intensity, as centuries of Maya wisdom dissolved into ash and smoke that drifted away on the tropical breeze. De Landa wrote in his own account, with a sense of misguided pride, that he had destroyed these books because they contained nothing but superstition and lies of the devil. Yet in an ironic twist that flows through history like a meandering river, it was this same man who later provided some of our most valuable information about Maya writing and culture in his work, Relaxation de las Cosas de Yucatán. The few codices that survived did so through remarkable journeys of preservation. The Dresden Codex, the most complete and elaborate of the surviving manuscripts, found its way to Europe through channels that remain somewhat mysterious, appearing in Vienna in 1739, before being purchased by the Royal Library of Dresden. Like a delicate flower preserved in amber, it survived centuries of European wars, including the bombing of Dresden during World War II, though it suffered water damage during rescue efforts. The Madrid Codex, split into 2 parts now known as the Trono and Cordesianus sections, remained hidden in Spain, its pages quietly waiting in private collections until scholars recognized its significance in the 19th century. The Paris Codex, though fragmentary, was discovered in 1859 in a basket of old papers in the corner of the Bibliothèque Impériale, like a forgotten treasure waiting to be rediscovered. The most controversial is the Grolier Codex, found in a Mexican cave in the 1960s. For years, scholars debated its authenticity, their discussions flowing back and forth like gentle waves, until advanced testing methods confirmed it as genuine in 2018, making it the oldest surviving book from the Americas. These surviving codices offer us precious windows into Maya thought and knowledge, their painted pages preserving fragments of a once vast literary tradition. Through them, we can still glimpse the complex calendar systems, astronomical calculations, and religious ceremonies that filled the pages of countless other books now lost to time. Their survival, against overwhelming odds, reminds us of the resilience of human knowledge and the enduring power of written words, even as we contemplate the immeasurable loss of their destroyed companions. As we rest and contemplate the flow of time, let us turn our thoughts to one of history's most intriguing mysteries, the gradual decline and eventual collapse of classic Maya civilization between 800 and 900 CE. Like autumn leaves slowly drifting to the ground, this once mighty civilization began to fade, leaving behind silent temples and empty plazas that had once bustled with life. In the warm, humid lowlands of the southern Maya region, the first signs of decline began to appear. The carefully maintained stone monuments, which had recorded the achievements of kings for centuries, became less frequent. The last dated stela at the great city of Kapan was erected in 822 CE, its carved surface marking the end of an era that had seen the creation of countless such monuments. Picture the growing quiet in once busy ceremonial centers, where the rhythmic sound of stone carvers' tools gradually fell silent. The grand temples, which had regularly received fresh coats of painted stucco, slowly began to show signs of wear. In cities like Tikal and Palenque, the intervals between major construction projects grew longer, like peaceful breaths becoming ever more distant. The collapse was not sudden, but rather like a gentle tide slowly receding from the shore. Different regions experienced decline at different times and in different ways. In Piedras Negras, the last known ruler, Ruler 7, disappeared from the historical record around 810 CE. The city's elegant palaces, which had echoed with the footsteps of nobles and diplomats, gradually emptied. Environmental factors played their part in this transformation. Years of intensive agriculture had slowly stressed the delicate tropical ecosystem. Tree ring data suggests a series of prolonged droughts between 810 and 910 CE, like a soft but persistent whisper of change carried on the wind. The Mayas' sophisticated water management systems, which had served them so well for centuries, began to struggle under the strain. Population movements occurred like gentle currents in a stream, as people gradually left the larger urban centers. The elaborate trade networks that had connected distant cities began to fray like old fabric, their threads slowly coming apart. The production of fine ceramics and jade objects decreased, as if the artisans' hands were slowly setting down their tools for the last time. In the northern lowlands, cities like Uxmal and Chichen Itza initially continued to flourish, like flowers blooming in the last warmth of summer. But even here, the changes occurring in the south cast long shadows. The complex system of divine kingship, which had organized Maya society for centuries, began to transform. The elaborate rituals and ceremonies that had marked the rhythm of life became less frequent, their echoes growing fainter. By 900 CE, many of the great classic period cities in the southern lowlands lay quiet, their plazas empty under the warm tropical sun. The forests began their slow reclamation of the built environment, like a green blanket gradually covering the stones. Yet even as the classic period drew to a close, Maya civilization itself did not disappear entirely, but rather transformed, like a river changing its course while continuing to flow onward through time. Let us explore the delicate relationship between the Maya civilization and their natural environment, a connection that profoundly shaped their rise and eventual transformation. The lush rainforests of Central America, with their seasonal rhythms of rain and drought, created both opportunities and challenges for the Maya people. Throughout their territories, the Maya developed sophisticated methods to work in harmony with their environment. In the limestone-rich lowlands, they created elaborate water management systems, including reservoirs called aguadas, which collected precious rainwater during the wet season. These artificial pools, lined with clay and stone, helped sustain communities through the dry months, their still waters reflecting the starlit sky above. The Maya understood the delicate balance of their forest environment. They practiced careful agricultural techniques, including the creation of raised fields in swampy areas and terraced hillsides in mountainous regions. These methods helped prevent soil erosion while maximizing available farmland. The ancient Maya farmers would carefully clear small patches of forest, using the slash-and-burn technique they called milpa, allowing fields to regenerate over time through long fallow periods. However, as Maya cities grew larger and populations increased, environmental pressures began to mount. Archaeological evidence suggests that by the 8th century CE, many areas experienced significant deforestation. The removal of forest cover for construction, fuel, and agriculture led to increased soil erosion. The loss of trees also affected local rainfall patterns, as the forest canopy played a crucial role in maintaining the region's delicate water cycle. Studies of lake sediments from the Maya lowland reveal periods of severe drought between 800 and 900 CE, coinciding with the time of the classic Maya collapse. These dry spells would have been particularly challenging for cities that relied on collected rainwater. The beautiful reservoirs that had sustained communities for generations gradually dried up, their cracking beds a testament to changing environmental conditions. The Maya response to these environmental challenges varied across different regions. In some areas, communities adapted by shifting to more drought-resistant crops or relocating to areas with more reliable water sources. Others developed even more sophisticated water management techniques, creating complex systems of canals and filtration devices. The environmental story of the Maya teaches us about the intricate relationship between human societies and their natural surroundings. Their careful observations of weather patterns, astronomical cycles, and natural resources informed their agricultural calendar and religious ceremonies. The sacred ceiba tree, reaching skyward with its spreading branches, symbolized their deep connection to the natural world. Even as some major centers declined, other Maya communities continued to maintain sustainable practices, their knowledge passed down through generations. They understood the importance of forest management, soil conservation, and water preservation. These environmental lessons, learned over centuries of careful observation and adaptation, remain relevant today as we consider our own relationship with the natural world. The gentle whisper of wind through the rainforest canopy, the steady drip of water in limestone caverns, and the rhythmic cycle of seasons all played their part in the Maya story, reminding us of the delicate balance between human civilization and the environment that sustains it. As we drift deeper into understanding the Maya collapse, we find ourselves exploring the intricate web of political instability that contributed to this civilization's decline. Like ripples spreading across still water, the effects of political turmoil touched every corner of Maya society during the terminal classic period. In the centuries leading up to the collapse, Maya cities had maintained a delicate balance of power through complex networks of alliances, marriages, and trade relationships. Kings, known as Kayuhal Ajo or divine lords, ruled their city-states with authority derived from both religious and political power. However, this carefully maintained system began to show signs of strain as early as the 7th century CE. Within the great city of Tikal, archaeological evidence reveals increasing competition between noble families, their elaborate palaces growing ever closer to the central ceremonial precinct, suggesting a gradual erosion of royal authority. The peaceful sounds of marketplace chatter and religious ceremonies were increasingly interrupted by the tensions of political rivalry. The written records of the period, carved into elegant limestone monuments, tell of more frequent warfare between city-states. Where once conflicts had been largely ritualistic and centered around the capture of noble prisoners, they evolved into more destructive campaigns. The gentle whisper of diplomatic messages carried between cities gave way to the heavy footsteps of warriors. In Capan, one of the most sophisticated Maya centers, the archaeological record shows how political instability manifested in the latter half of the 8th century. The city's final ruler, Yax Passage Chanyoat, struggled to maintain his authority as noble families increasingly challenged royal power. The once unified voice of leadership fractured into competing claims for authority. The beautiful carved monuments of this period tell a poignant story. Where earlier stelae had proclaimed great victories and divine connections, later monuments showed signs of desperate attempts to legitimize weakening authority. The smooth limestone surfaces bore increasingly elaborate royal titles and claims of divine ancestry, like whispered reassurances in stone. In cities across the Maya world, evidence suggests that the traditional system of divine kingship began to transform. Some centers, like Chichen Itza, adapted by developing more collective forms of governance, their council houses speaking to shared decision-making. Others, like Calakmul, saw their once mighty dynasties fade like morning mist, their grand palaces gradually falling silent. The political fragmentation had profound effects on daily life. Trade routes that had once carried jade, obsidian, and precious feathers between cities became less reliable. The rhythmic sound of merchants' footsteps along well-worn paths grew fainter. In the markets, the variety of goods slowly diminished, like colors fading from a vibrant tapestry. This period of instability created a cycle that proved difficult to break. As royal authority weakened, the ability to organize large-scale projects and maintain crucial infrastructure declined. The careful management of water resources, so essential in the Maya lowlands, became more challenging. The sound of stone against stone in construction projects became less frequent, replaced by the quiet crumbling of neglected structures. Through the lens of time, we can see how this political instability wove itself into the fabric of Maya civilization, contributing to its gradual transformation. Like shadows lengthening at sunset, the changes were subtle at first, but grew more pronounced with each passing decade. As the Maya civilization entered its period of decline, one of the most striking changes was the dramatic decrease in population across their great cities and settlements. Like autumn leaves gradually falling from trees, the once bustling urban centers began to empty, their streets growing quieter with each passing season. Archaeological evidence reveals that between 750 and 900 CE, the population of many Maya lowland cities decreased by 90% or more. The great city of Tikal, which once supported perhaps 50,000 to 100,000 inhabitants, saw its numbers dwindle steadily until only a few thousand remained. The sound of children playing in courtyards, the calls of market vendors, and the rhythmic chants of religious ceremonies gradually faded into silence. This decline wasn't sudden, but rather occurred over several generations. Imagine walking through these cities during this time, watching as neighborhoods slowly emptied, houses were abandoned one by one, and temple maintenance became increasingly sporadic. The soft whisper of wind through empty doorways replaced the busy sounds of daily life. The pattern of population loss varied across different regions. While some areas experienced rapid abandonment, others saw a more gradual transition. In Kapan, for instance, archaeological evidence suggests that the elite residents of the city center were among the first to leave, while common people remained somewhat longer in the surrounding valleys, tending their gardens and maintaining smaller households. The demographic decline affected all levels of society. Noble families who had lived in the same palaces for generations began to migrate away, seeking better prospects elsewhere. Skilled artisans, whose workshops had produced magnificent pottery and jade ornaments, found themselves with fewer patrons and gradually dispersed. Farmers, who had long cultivated the terraced hillsides and raised fields, began abandoning their ancestral lands. This population movement wasn't simply a matter of people disappearing. Many Maya groups migrated northward toward the Yucatan Peninsula, where cities like Chichen Itza and Uxmal were still flourishing. Others moved to more modest settlements in the highlands, adapting their way of life to new circumstances. The sound of footsteps along well-worn trade routes told the story of families seeking new beginnings. The environmental and social impact of this decline was profound but gentle in its unfolding. As populations decreased, the pressure on local resources eased. Forests slowly reclaimed abandoned agricultural fields, and wildlife returned to areas that had once been densely populated. The soft rustle of returning vegetation gradually replaced the sounds of human activity. By 1000 CE, many of the great classic period cities stood largely empty, their remaining inhabitants living among the shadows of their ancestors' achievements. Yet even in decline, these places retained their sacred significance. Small groups would still come to burn copal incense at ancient shrines, their quiet prayers echoing in spaces that had once held thousands. This population decline marked not an end, but a transformation of Maya civilization. Like water finding new channels after a change in the landscape, Maya communities adapted and evolved, carrying their cultural knowledge and traditions with them into new settings and circumstances, where they would continue to develop and thrive in different ways. As the Maya civilization entered its period of decline, one of the most poignant manifestations was the gradual abandonment of their great ceremonial centers and cities. Like autumn leaves slowly drifting from their branches, populations began to drift away from once bustling urban cores, leaving behind the magnificent temples and palaces that had been the pride of their civilization. The process of abandonment wasn't sudden, but rather occurred over generations, beginning around 750 CE in some regions, and continuing well into the 9th and 10th centuries. Picture the great city of Tikal, its towering pyramids rising above the rainforest canopy. Where once thousands of people would gather in its grand plaza for ceremonies and markets, the spaces gradually grew quieter. The smooth limestone steps that had been worn by countless footsteps began to gather moss, and the carefully maintained courtyards slowly filled with fallen leaves. At Capan, in what is now Honduras, the final ruler, Yaxpasej Yapat, continued to commission monuments until around 822 CE, but the population had already begun to disperse. The elaborate royal ceremonies that once echoed through the valleys became less frequent, then ceased altogether. The skilled artisans who had carved the intricate hieroglyphic stairway moved away, seeking opportunities elsewhere. In the Pidixbatan region, the abandonment was more dramatic. The great city of Dos Pilas was deserted rather quickly around 760 CE, its inhabitants constructing hasty defensive walls from stones taken from their own temples before finally leaving altogether. The sound of children playing in courtyards was replaced by the gentle rustle of wind through empty doorways. At Palenque, the delicate architecture that had made the city famous slowly surrendered to the embrace of the forest. The clear waters that had once flowed through sophisticated aqueducts began to find new paths as the carefully engineered systems fell into disuse. The last known inscription at Palenque was carved in 799 CE, marking the end of recorded history in this once great center. The abandonment wasn't uniform across all regions. Some cities, like Lamini in present-day Belize, continued to be inhabited, though on a much smaller scale. The great limestone platforms that had supported busy marketplaces became quiet gathering spaces for much smaller communities. In the Puc region, cities like Uxmal actually flourished briefly during this period, receiving some of the populations that had left other areas, before they too gradually declined. As families moved away from these urban centers, they often returned to smaller settlements and agricultural communities. The elaborate palaces that had housed noble families became silent, their doorways framing only empty chambers. The incense that had once burned continuously in temple sanctuaries no longer perfumed the air, and the brilliant red pigments that had decorated the buildings began to fade under the tropical sun. This pattern of abandonment tells us much about how the Maya civilization changed during this period. Rather than a sudden collapse, we see a gradual transformation, as people adapted to changing circumstances by leaving their grand urban centers while maintaining aspects of their culture in smaller communities. The temples and palaces they left behind would stand as silent witnesses to their achievements, slowly being reclaimed by the forest until their rediscovery centuries later. As the great classic period cities of the southern lowlands fell into silence, Maya civilization did not disappear, but rather transformed and adapted in remarkable ways. The post-classic period, spanning from around 900 to 1500 CE, saw the flourishing of new centers in the northern Yucatan Peninsula, where the gentle whisper of trade winds carried ships along the coast, bringing new connections and possibilities. In these northern realms, cities like Chichen Itza rose to prominence, its limestone buildings catching the golden light of dawn. The city's famous El Castillo pyramid stood as a testament to continuing Maya architectural excellence, its carefully aligned steps and platforms marking the passage of seasons, just as their ancestors had done. The sound of merchants' voices filled the busy ports of Cholum and Mayapan, where canoes laden with precious goods like jade, obsidian, and brilliant quetzal feathers arrived from distant shores. The post-classic Maya adapted to changing times while maintaining deep connections to their cultural heritage. In quiet temple chambers, priests continued to consult the sacred calendar, their fingers tracing the familiar patterns of the Tzolk'in and Hob cycles that had guided their people for generations. The soft rustling of bark paper could be heard as scribes carefully recorded histories and prophecies in codices, though sadly, most of these precious books would later be lost to time and conquest. Life in post-classic Maya communities followed gentler rhythms than the intense ceremonial cycles of the classic period. In household courtyards, women ground corn on smooth stone metates, the rhythmic scraping sounds unchanged from centuries past. Children played with clay figurines while learning the stories of their ancestors, and in the cool evenings, elders shared tales of the great kings and cities that once were. The northern cities developed new forms of governance, moving away from the divine kingship of the classic period toward more collective forms of rule. In Mayapan's council houses, noble families gathered to make decisions together, their voices mixing with the warm breeze that drifted through open doorways. The walls of their meeting places were adorned with murals showing both traditional Maya themes and new influences from central Mexican cultures. Trade became increasingly important during this time, with coastal cities like Cholum overlooking the Caribbean Sea becoming bustling ports of call. The salty air carried the sense of exotic goods from distant lands, while local merchants offered honey, cotton, and salt from the Yucatan's natural resources. These trade networks helped maintain connections between Maya communities even as political structures changed. Though less grandiose than classic period architecture, post-classic buildings maintained Maya aesthetic principles while incorporating new elements. The sound of stone against stone could still be heard as masons carefully fitted blocks together, creating structures that harmonized with the natural landscape. The gentle afternoon light still played across carved serpent columns and painted walls, creating ever-changing patterns that delighted the eye. This period of adaptation and renewal continued until the arrival of Spanish conquistadors in the early 16th century. But the Maya spirit of resilience and cultural continuity would persist even through the profound changes that followed. The post-classic period stands as a testament to the Maya people's ability to adapt while maintaining their essential cultural identity. Like a strong tree whose branches may bend with the wind, but whose roots remain firmly planted in ancient soil. As the southern Maya lowlands experienced decline, the northern lowlands entered a remarkable period of cultural florescence and urban development. Let us drift peacefully through the gentle landscapes of the Yucatan Peninsula, where new Maya centers rose to prominence under the warm Caribbean sun. The city of Chichen Itza emerged as a dominant force in the northern lowlands around 900 CE, its limestone pyramids and temples reaching skyward through the morning mist. The city's architects and artists created a distinctive blend of Maya and Toltec architectural styles, visible in the graceful curves and sharp angles of structures like the Temple of Kukulkan, also known as El Castillo. The soft footsteps of pilgrims and merchants would have echoed through its courtyards, as traders from across Mesoamerica brought their wares to its bustling marketplaces. In the quieter corners of the city, astronomers and priests maintained careful observations of the heavens, timing their ceremonies to coincide with celestial events. The gentle splashing of sacred cenotes, natural sinkholes filled with crystal-clear water, provided both practical and spiritual sustenance to the community. These waters held particular significance during the dry season, when the limestone landscape offered few other sources of fresh water. As we follow the timeline forward like floating clouds across the sky, we see the rise of Mayapan around 1200 CE. This carefully planned city, surrounded by defensive walls, became the new political capital of the northern lowlands. Within its protected spaces, noble families lived in elaborate residential compounds, while artisans crafted delicate pottery and intricate jewelry in their workshops. The soft sounds of copper bells and ceramic wind instruments would have drifted through the streets during festivals and ceremonies. The northern lowland developments brought innovations in architecture and urban planning. Cities were designed with raised sakbyab, or white roads, connecting important buildings and neighboring settlements. These smooth limestone paths gleamed in the moonlight, guiding travelers between communities. The architecture incorporated more columns and broader spaces than their southern predecessors, creating airy galleries and courtyards where sea breezes could circulate freely. Trade networks expanded during this period, bringing new influences and materials to the northern cities. Precious goods like jade, obsidian, and brilliant quetzal feathers continued to flow through established routes, while new items like turquoise from the distant north and gold from Panama found their way into Maya markets. The gentle clink of copper bells and the soft rustle of cotton textiles would have filled the marketplace air. This northern fluorescence continued until the mid-15th century, when changing climate patterns and political tensions led to gradual transformations. Yet even as larger centers declined, smaller communities maintained Maya traditions and practices. The knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and calendar systems continued to be passed down through generations, like quiet whispers of ancient wisdom carried on the evening breeze. The legacy of these northern developments can still be seen today in the magnificent ruins that dot the Yucatan landscape, their weathered stones telling stories of innovation, adaptation, and resilience in the face of change. As we rest here in contemplation, we can imagine the countless lives that flowed through these spaces, each contributing to the rich tapestry of Maya civilization. As we drift deeper into understanding how the Maya adapted and survived through centuries of change, we find ourselves contemplating the remarkable resilience of these ancient peoples. Even as their great classical centers fell silent, Maya communities continued to thrive and evolve, finding new ways to preserve their cultural heritage while adapting to changing circumstances. In the northern regions, particularly in what we now call Yucatan, Maya communities demonstrated remarkable adaptability. They modified their agricultural practices, developing more drought-resistant varieties of maize and implementing new irrigation techniques. The cenotes, natural sinkholes filled with precious groundwater, became even more central to their survival, with settlements carefully positioned to maintain access to these vital water sources. The Maya people's ability to adapt extended beyond mere survival. They continued to create beautiful works of art, though now often on a smaller scale. Their craftspeople learned to work with new materials and develop different artistic styles that reflected their changing world. The elaborate murals at sites like Cholum and Mayapan tell stories of communities in transition, incorporating new influences while maintaining distinctly Maya artistic traditions. In the highlands of Guatemala, Maya communities preserved their ancient knowledge through oral traditions and continued to practice many of their traditional ceremonies. The K'ich Maya, for instance, maintained their cultural practices while adapting to new political realities. The Popol Vuh, their sacred text, was carefully preserved through oral tradition before being written down in the 16th century, demonstrating their commitment to maintaining their cultural heritage. The Mayas' trading networks, though changed from their classical period height, continued to function and evolve. Coastal communities developed new maritime trading routes, while inland settlements established different patterns of exchange. This adaptability in commerce helped ensure their economic survival and maintained connections between different Maya regions. In their daily lives, Maya families passed down traditional knowledge while incorporating new practices. Women continued to weave using ancient patterns but adapted their techniques and materials. Farmers maintained traditional milpa agriculture while introducing new crops and farming methods. This careful balance between tradition and innovation helped ensure their cultural survival. The Maya calendar system, though no longer marked by massive stone monuments, continued to guide community life. Religious specialists maintained their knowledge of the sacred calendar round, adapting their ceremonies and observations to changing circumstances. This preservation of timekeeping traditions helped maintain cultural continuity even as other aspects of society transformed. In the face of environmental challenges, Maya communities developed new water management techniques. They built smaller-scale reservoirs and modified their ancient channeling systems to better suit their needs. These adaptations reflected both their practical wisdom and their deep understanding of their environment. Through all these changes, the Maya people demonstrated remarkable resilience, neither completely abandoning their traditions nor refusing to adapt to new realities. They found ways to preserve what was most essential about their culture while evolving to meet the challenges of their changing world. This delicate balance between preservation and adaptation would prove crucial to their survival through the centuries that followed, allowing Maya culture and communities to endure to the present day. As the Maya civilization adapted and evolved during the post-classic period, new political centers emerged across the landscape, each contributing to the continuing story of Maya culture and society. Let us gently explore these emerging centers of power and influence that shaped the later Maya world. In the northern regions, the city of Mayapan gradually rose to prominence, becoming one of the most significant political centers of the post-classic period. Around 1200 CE, its stone walls enclosed a carefully planned urban core spanning nearly 4 square kilometers. Within these protective boundaries, noble families constructed smaller replicas of the great pyramids and temples that had once graced the cities of their ancestors. The soft whisper of commerce filled Mayapan's marketplaces, where traders from across the Maya world gathered to exchange precious goods. The sound of shells used as currency clinked softly in the hands of merchants, while the aroma of copal incense drifted through the air during religious ceremonies. The city's political structure reflected a confederation of noble houses, working together in a system that differed from the divine kingship of the classic period. To the east, the island city of Cozumel became an important ceremonial center and bustling port. Pilgrims would journey across the waters to visit the shrine of Ixchel, the goddess of medicine and fertility. The gentle lapping of waves against the shore provided a constant backdrop to the prayers and offerings made at her temples. Merchants' canoes, laden with goods from distant lands, would glide into the island's protected harbors. In the highlands of Guatemala, the Kayich Maya established their capital at Cuyumarcaj, known also as Utatlan. Here, amid the cool mountain air and misty valleys, they created a powerful state that controlled much of the region. The city's architecture reflected both innovation and tradition, with stepped pyramids rising above plazas where council members would gather to make decisions that affected thousands of lives. Along the Caribbean coast, trading centers like Cholum stood as sentinel cities, their walls painted in bright colors that would have gleamed in the tropical sun. These communities maintained vital maritime trade routes that connected the Maya world with other Mesoamerican peoples. The sound of waves crashing against the limestone cliffs below Cholum's temples reminded visitors of the eternal connection between the Maya and the sea. In the Petane region, where great classic period cities had once stood, smaller communities maintained their connections to ancient traditions while adapting to new circumstances. Lakes and rivers continued to serve as vital transportation routes, their waters carrying both goods and ideas between settlements. These new political centers, though different from their classic period predecessors, maintained many essential elements of Maya culture. The calendar continued to guide religious observations. Scribes still recorded important events, and communities gathered in plaza spaces to participate in public ceremonies. The gentle rhythm of daily life continued, marked by the rising and setting of the sun, the changing of seasons, and the eternal cycle of religious observances that had long given structure to Maya society. As we rest here in our exploration of these new political centers, we can appreciate how the Maya people continued to create meaningful communities and institutions, even as the nature of their political organization evolved and changed with the passing centuries. As we drift through time to the present day, we find the rich legacy of the Maya civilization continuing to resonate through the generations. Today, over 7 million Maya people maintain their cultural heritage across southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and parts of Honduras and El Salvador. Their ancient wisdom and traditions flow like gentle streams into modern life, carrying the echoes of their ancestors. In the quiet villages and bustling towns of the Maya region, traditional languages still whisper through the air. More than 30 distinct Maya languages are spoken today, with K'ich, Yucatec, Caxiual, and Mam being among the most widespread. Like soft rainfall nurturing ancient roots, these languages preserve concepts and ways of thinking that reach back through centuries of cultural continuity. The sacred calendar of 260 days, known as the Tzolk'in, continues to guide spiritual practices and daily life for many Maya communities. Modern-day keepers, or Ajkajab, maintain the ancient knowledge of time counting, performing ceremonies and offering guidance much as their predecessors did over 1,000 years ago. The gentle smoke of copal incense still rises at traditional ceremonies, carrying prayers skyward just as it did in classical times. Traditional weaving practices persist, with women creating intricate textiles using patterns and techniques passed down through generations. Each region has its distinctive hewable designs, telling stories of community identity and ancestral connections through subtle variations in color and pattern. The soft clicking of looms can still be heard in many households, a meditative rhythm connecting past and present. Maya agricultural practices, developed over millennia, continue to influence modern farming in the region. The milpa system of growing corn, beans, and squash together remains vital to many communities, while ancient techniques for terrain management and water conservation offer wisdom for contemporary environmental challenges. The gentle rustle of corn leaves in the breeze speaks to both ancient and modern farmers. In urban areas, Maya people navigate between traditional ways and contemporary life, creating new expressions of their ancient heritage. Modern Maya artists draw inspiration from classical imagery while addressing current social issues. Maya intellectuals and activists work to preserve and revitalize their cultural traditions while advocating for indigenous rights and environmental protection. Archaeological sites have become important centers for cultural reclamation, where modern Maya people conduct ceremonies among the ancient stones of their ancestors. At places like Tikal and Chichen, the soft morning mist still carries the whispered prayers of those maintaining ancient spiritual connections. Traditional healing practices, using knowledge of local plants and spiritual understanding, continue to serve communities alongside modern medicine. The Maya calendar system's sophisticated understanding of astronomical cycles continues to impress scholars, while Maya mathematics, including the concept of zero, remains a testament to their intellectual achievements. Their architectural and engineering principles still influence modern studies of sustainable tropical construction and water management. As the sun sets over the lands that have been home to the Maya for over 3 millennia, we see a living culture that has neither vanished nor remained frozen in time, but rather continues to evolve while maintaining profound connections to its roots. The legacy of the classical Maya civilization breathes and grows through its modern descendants, who carry forward the wisdom of their ancestors while facing the challenges of the contemporary world. The remarkable cultural survival of the Maya civilization stands as a testament to the resilience and adaptability of these ancient peoples. Even as their great classical cities fell into silence and their temples became embraced by the surrounding rainforest, the essence of Maya culture continued to flow like an endless river through generations, carrying forward their profound wisdom and traditions. In the highlands of Guatemala and the remote regions of the Yucatan, Maya communities preserved their ancestral ways through oral traditions, passing down stories beneath star-filled skies much as their ancestors had done centuries before. The sacred calendar, the Tzolk'in, continued its endless cycle of 260 days, marking time just as it had when the Great Pyramids of Tikal first rose above the canopy. Traditional healers, known as H-men, maintained their knowledge of medicinal plants and spiritual practices, their quiet wisdom echoing through village courtyards and forest paths. The survival of Maya culture took on many forms, adapting like water flowing around stones in a stream. While some communities maintained more obvious connections to their ancestral past, others wove their traditions into new patterns, creating a tapestry that combined ancient wisdom with evolving needs. In remote villages, women continued to weave intricate textiles using techniques and patterns that had been passed down through countless generations, their fingers moving in rhythms that echoed those of their great-grandmothers. The Maya language family, with its melodious tones and complex structures, persisted despite centuries of pressure to adopt Spanish. Today, over 6 million people still speak various Maya languages, their words carrying forward the concepts and worldview of their ancestors. In the markets of Chichicastenango and the streets of San Cristobal de las Casas, these ancient tongues still float on the morning air, connecting present to past like invisible threads. Traditional agricultural practices, too, survived the centuries of change. Many Maya farmers still plant their milpas using methods refined by their ancestors, understanding the delicate balance of the tropical environment. They continue to plant the sacred trilogy of corn, beans, and squash, their farming calendar guided by the same natural rhythms that their ancestors observed from temple tops. Perhaps most remarkably, Maya spiritual beliefs and practices have endured, though often transformed and interwoven with other traditions. In the highlands of Chiapas and Guatemala, ancient ceremonies still take place in cloud-wrapped mountains, where copal incense rises like morning mist and prayers are whispered in languages that echoed through classic period courts. The sacred cave shrines, once central to Maya spiritual life, continue to receive offerings, their darkness holding both ancient memories and living traditions. This cultural survival manifests in countless subtle ways, in the preparation of traditional foods, in the telling of ancient stories, in the celebration of festivals that mark the turning of seasons. Like the ceiba trees that rise from the forest floor, Maya culture has maintained its deep roots while continuing to grow and adapt, reaching toward new light while remaining firmly connected to its ancient foundations. Their story reminds us that cultural survival is not merely about preserving the past unchanged, but about maintaining a living connection that allows traditions to remain relevant and vital in an ever-changing world. As we drift deeper into the story of Maya archaeological discoveries, let us explore the remarkable ways these ancient cities and artifacts have gradually revealed their secrets to us. The dense rainforests of Central America kept many Maya sites hidden for centuries, waiting patiently to share their stories with the world. In the peaceful stillness of the 19th century, American explorer John Lloyd Stevens and English artist Frederick Catherwood embarked on their transformative journeys through the Maya region. Between 1839 and 1842, they documented numerous sites with unprecedented detail and artistry. Catherwood's delicate illustrations captured the intricate carvings and majestic architecture, while Stevens' vivid descriptions brought these lost cities back to life in the imagination of readers worldwide. The gentle persistence of archaeologists has continued to unveil new discoveries. In 1952, beneath the temples of Palenque, Mexican archaeologist Alberto Ruz Lulier discovered the remarkable tomb of K. Inish Janab Pakal I following a series of stone steps down into the heart of the Temple of Inscriptions. They found an elaborately carved sarcophagus lid weighing several tons, depicting the great ruler's journey to the underworld. More recently, advanced technology has allowed us to see the Maya world in new ways. LiDAR scanning, which uses pulses of light to create detailed three-dimensional maps, has revealed thousands of previously unknown structures beneath the forest canopy. In 2018, these scans showed that the Maya civilization was far more extensive than previously thought, with complex networks of cities, fortifications, and raised highways connecting communities across vast distances. The quiet work of excavation continues to provide insights into daily Maya life. Careful examination of household middens' ancient garbage deposits has revealed details about diet, craft production, and trading patterns. Delicate ceramic vessels, worn stone tools, and fragments of textile impressions tell stories of the hands that once used them. In the cool chambers of museums and laboratories, other discoveries unfold. The patient analysis of Maya codices, the few precious books that survived Spanish destruction, has helped scholars understand Maya mathematics, astronomy, and religious beliefs. The Dresden Codex, with its careful observations of Venus and eclipse predictions, speaks to their sophisticated understanding of the cosmos. Underground caves have yielded particularly poignant discoveries. In these sacred spaces, archaeologists have found ceramic offerings, jade objects, and human remains that provide glimpses into Maya spiritual practices. The crystalline waters of cenotes, natural sinkholes, have preserved organic materials that rarely survive in the tropical climate, including wooden objects, textiles, and even rubber balls used in the sacred ball game. Each year brings new understanding. Recent excavations at Zunantunich in Belize revealed royal tombs with jade masks, while work at El Mirador in Guatemala continues to uncover evidence of early Maya civilization. These discoveries remind us that there is still much to learn, as the Maya world slowly emerges from its green shroud, sharing its stories with those who listen carefully to the whispers of the past. Today, across southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and parts of Honduras and El Salvador, millions of Maya people continue to maintain their rich cultural heritage while adapting to modern life. Let us gently explore these vibrant contemporary communities, where ancient traditions blend seamlessly with present-day practices. In the highlands of Guatemala, Maya women still weave intricate textiles using techniques passed down through countless generations, their fingers dancing across traditional backstrap looms as they create huipiles adorned with symbols that tell stories of their communities. The soft clicking of the looms mingles with the sound of children, learning both their ancestral languages and Spanish in bilingual schools, a testament to the delicate balance between preserving heritage and embracing change. In the Yucatan Peninsula, Maya farmers continue to practice milpa agriculture, the ancient system of rotating crops that sustained their ancestors. The morning mist rises over fields of corn, beans, and squash, while modern agricultural techniques complement traditional knowledge. The scent of copal incense still wafts through the air during ceremonies, as contemporary Maya spiritual leaders maintain sacred rituals while participating in the broader fabric of modern society. Modern Maya communities face both challenges and opportunities. In places like San Cristobal de las Casas in Chiapas, Mexico, Maya entrepreneurs operate successful businesses while maintaining their cultural identity. Traditional markets buzz with activity as vendors sell both ancestral remedies and contemporary goods. Their melodic languages, Tzeltal, Tzotzil, and others, floating through the air alongside Spanish conversations. In Guatemala's Lake Atitlan region, Maya communities have embraced sustainable tourism while protecting their traditions. Visitors can learn about traditional weaving and natural dyeing techniques in cultural centers, while Maya guides share their knowledge of medicinal plants and ancient customs. The gentle lapping of the lake's waters provides a constant backdrop to this cultural exchange, much as it has for centuries. Maya languages remain vital, with approximately 6 million speakers of various Maya languages today. In schools across the region, young people learn to write in their native tongues using modern alphabets, while elders share oral histories that connect present generations to their ancestors. The soft murmur of these ancient languages continues to fill homes and community gatherings, carrying forward the wisdom of generations. Traditional healing practices persist alongside modern medicine, with Maya healers or curanderos serving their communities using knowledge of local plants and spiritual traditions. In the quiet corners of villages and towns, these practitioners tend to both physical and spiritual ailments, their gentle hands continuing practices that have evolved over millennia. Contemporary Maya artists create works that bridge ancient and modern worlds, incorporating traditional symbols and themes into paintings, sculptures, and digital art. Their creations speak to both the endurance and evolution of Maya culture, telling stories of resilience and adaptation through new mediums while honoring ancestral techniques. As the sun sets over these communities each evening, the smell of corn tortillas cooking on traditional comals mingles with the sounds of modern life, televisions, mobile phones, and cars. Yet the essential spirit of Maya culture remains strong, flowing like an eternal river through time, adapting yet preserving the core values and practices that have sustained these communities for thousands of years. As we drift into the present day, the story of Maya research continues to unfold like pages of an ancient codex, revealing new mysteries with each careful turn. In laboratories, universities, and remote field sites across Mesoamerica, dedicated scholars work tirelessly to piece together the intricate puzzle of Maya civilization, their gentle persistence echoing the patient craftsmanship of ancient Maya scribes. Recent technological advances have transformed our understanding of the Maya world. LiDAR scanning, floating like invisible clouds above the rainforest canopy, has revealed tens of thousands of previously unknown structures hidden beneath centuries of vegetation. In 2018, these aerial surveys uncovered an interconnected network of Maya cities in Guatemala's Petén region, suggesting a civilization far more populous and sophisticated than previously imagined. In the quiet halls of museums and research centers, experts carefully examine newly discovered artifacts using advanced imaging techniques. Infrared photography gently reveals hidden text on worn codex pages, while microscopic analysis helps decode the components of Maya blue pigment, that enduring color that has survived centuries of time's soft passage. Underwater archaeology has opened new windows into Maya life, as researchers explore cenotes and coastal waters. In the depths of these sacred wells, perfectly preserved offerings tell stories of ritual and belief, while sunken coastal sites reveal extensive maritime trade networks that once connected distant shores. Environmental scientists analyze ancient pollen samples and soil deposits, reading the Earth's quiet testimony about climate changes that influenced Maya society. Their findings weave together with archaeological evidence, creating a more complete tapestry of how environmental factors contributed to both the flourishing and decline of Maya centers. Digital technology now allows for detailed 3D modeling of Maya architecture, helping scholars understand construction techniques and astronomical alignments. Virtual reality reconstructions bring ancient cities to life, allowing us to walk through streets and temples as they might have appeared centuries ago. The digital dawn light casting the same shadows that once fell across these sacred spaces. Ongoing epigraphic studies continue to unlock the secrets of Maya writing, with new glyph readings enriching our understanding of Maya history and literature. Each deciphered text adds another voice to the chorus of ancient Maya storytellers, their words reaching across time to share tales of kings and commoners, wars and alliances, ceremonies and daily life. Collaborative projects between archaeologists and contemporary Maya communities bring together ancient knowledge and modern scientific methods. Local oral histories help guide research questions, while traditional ecological knowledge informs our understanding of how the ancient Maya managed their environment. As we rest in the gentle flow of discovery, new findings emerge like stars in the evening sky. In recent years, researchers have identified previously unknown Maya sites in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula using satellite imagery, while others have found evidence of ancient Maya chocolate production through residue analysis of ceramic vessels. The story of Maya research continues to evolve, each discovery adding depth and nuance to our understanding of this remarkable civilization. Like the cyclical nature of the Maya calendar, our knowledge grows in recurring waves of revelation, each generation of scholars building upon the careful work of those who came before, all while new questions emerge like sunrise on the horizon of understanding. As our journey through the magnificent Maya civilization draws to a close, let us rest in quiet contemplation of the remarkable story we have witnessed. Like the gentle flow of time itself, we have traveled through centuries, watching civilizations rise and fall like the eternal cycles of the sun and moon that the Maya so carefully tracked. From those first settlers who cleared the dense rainforests to plant their maize, to the master astronomers who mapped the heavens from their temple observatories, we have walked alongside countless generations who shaped this remarkable civilization. The limestone steps we climbed led us through time from humble villages to magnificent cities, from simple farming communities to complex societies that touched the stars with their knowledge. Think now of the scribes, working by lamplight, carefully painting their sacred codices with stories of gods and kings. Their careful brushstrokes connected heaven and earth, past and future, in an endless dance of meaning. Though most of their books were lost to time, their wisdom echoes still in the fragments that remain, reminding us that human creativity finds a way to speak across the centuries. Let your mind drift to those great plaza spaces, where merchants once gathered under the tropical sun, their goods spread before them like treasures jade from the highlands, shells from distant shores, feathers of brilliant birds, and precious cacao beans that served as both currency and luxury. The murmur of their voices across the marketplaces blended with the songs of priests in their temples above, creating a symphony of human activity that filled these cities with life. Consider the master builders, whose understanding of mathematics and astronomy allowed them to raise monuments that still inspire awe today. Their temples rose like mountains from the forest floor, perfectly aligned with celestial events, marking the passage of time in stone. These weren't just buildings. They were bridges between earth and sky, physical expressions of Maya cosmology that connected the everyday world with the realm of gods and ancestors. The development of their remarkable calendar systems reminds us that all cultures seek to understand their place in time's great flow. The Maya saw time as both circular and infinite, with great cycles ending only to begin anew. Perhaps there is wisdom in this view, a reminder that endings always contain the seeds of new beginnings, that change is as natural as the turning of seasons. As we reflect on the period of their classical peak, we see a civilization that achieved remarkable heights in art, architecture, mathematics, and astronomy. Their cities gleamed with painted temples, their courts buzzed with diplomatic activity, and their intellectuals pondered the mysteries of zero and infinity. Yet within this greatest flowering lay the seeds of change, as with all human endeavors. The story of their classical collapse holds lessons that resonate deeply in our own time, about the delicate balance between human societies and their environment, about the importance of sustainable practices, about the consequences of political instability and environmental stress. Yet even in this apparent ending, we find continuation and renewal, as Maya communities adapted, survived, and carried their cultural heritage forward. Let your thoughts flow like water through their ancient aqueducts, considering how the Maya people managed their precious resources, how they read the stars, how they recorded their histories, and how they understood their place in the cosmic order. Their sophisticated writing system captured the thoughts and deeds of kings, the movements of planets, the predictions of priests, and the stories of gods, a testament to human ingenuity and our deep need to leave marks upon time's endless canvas. In the quiet depths of night, imagine the Maya astronomers who stood on their temple platforms, watching the same stars we see today, calculating the complex movements of celestial bodies with remarkable precision. Their observations, recorded in bark paper codices and carved in stone, speak to humanity's eternal fascination with the cosmos and our place within it. Consider how the Maya understood zero, that profound concept of absence that paradoxically contains all possibility. Like the moment between sleeping and waking, between one breath and the next, zero represents both ending and beginning, emptiness and potential. The Maya grasp of this mathematical concept reveals their deep understanding of the cycles that govern both human life and cosmic order. As we near sleep, let us appreciate how the Maya story is not just about monuments and mathematics, kings and conquests, but about human beings much like ourselves, people who loved their children, who worried about the rain, who celebrated festivals, who mourned their dead, who looked to the stars and wondered about their place in the universe. Their markets were filled with the scent of cooking food, their homes with the laughter of children, their temples with the whispered prayers of the faithful. The Maya legacy continues in the millions of Maya people who maintain their languages, customs, and spiritual practices today. Their communities, stretching across southern Mexico and Central America, remain vibrant testimonies to cultural resilience and adaptation. In their faces, we see the echo of those ancient astronomers, artists, and scribes who created such remarkable achievements. As your consciousness drifts toward sleep, feel the connection to those countless generations who have watched the same stars, felt the same rain, and pondered the same eternal questions about existence. The Maya understanding of time as an endless cycle reminds us that we are all part of a greater story, one that stretches far into the past and continues into the future. Let the wisdom of the Maya flow through your thoughts like a gentle river, their profound understanding of cycles, their recognition of the sacred in the everyday, their appreciation for the delicate balance between human achievement and natural harmony. Their story reminds us that civilizations, like all things in nature, move in cycles of growth, change, and renewal. As sleep approaches, imagine the peace of those ancient temple courts at twilight, when the last rays of sun painted the limestone walls with gold, when the evening breeze carried the sweet scent of copal incense, when the first stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Feel the profound silence of those spaces now, where the whispers of history mingle with the rustle of rainforest leaves. Rest now in the knowledge that you are part of this great human story, connected across time to those who built the temples, who wrote the codices, who studied the stars, who lived and loved and dreamed in those ancient cities. Let their wisdom and their wonder carry you gently into sleep, where past and present merge in dreams, where time flows like water, where all stories meet in the endless cycle of human experience. May your dreams be blessed with the peace of ancient temple courts, with the wisdom of Maya astronomers, with the creativity of their artists, and with the deep understanding that we are all part of time's great cycle, all connected in the endless dance of human civilization. Sleep now, and let the stars that guided the Maya guide you into peaceful rest.